Lucia, jana mwana machozi ya wabunge wamesema anataka helicopter. Wamesema anataka helicopter.
Niko na maneno mingi ya kusema concerning that, and they're not even kind things I have to say, Gerald. I actually feel insulted that the legislators were crying, and I think those are crocodile tears. It's hypocrisy. When your child is unwell and they come to you and they tell you that they are unwell, you take them to hospital. You don't start crying with your child over there. Our legislators have the power. I'm actually just looking at Article 94 of the Constitution, Sub-Article 5, and it says no person or body other than Parliament has the power to make provision having the force of law in Kenya except under authority conferred by this Constitution or by legislation. So when Nyikal was crying in Parliament, analilia nani? Anataka nani akuje kurectify your situation when he's the one person we've given the mandate to go to Parliament and rectify that situation? Honestly, analilia nani? Who are they crying for? When they say they want helicopters to take them to better equipped hospitals, who has failed our health systems? Who has built those poorly equipped hospitals that we currently have, if not them? So they're making mistakes, and now that they have to pay for their mistakes, they're crying foul. So sisi taxpayers tuanze kulipa pesa ya kumaintain chopper, ndio chopper iko standby ya kupeleka MPs hospitali, kwa sababu relatives wetu si binadamu, wao wanatumia petroli, hawatumii damu kama MPs. It's madness, and it's actually new jinga, new puzi, new shenzi. I don't even have, I don't think those words are even enough to describe the kind of stupidity that is going on in our parliament. It's mind-boggling, Gerald.
What are your thoughts, Mijungu?
You know, to see a member of parliament who has the responsibility crying, that was sad, to say the least. And as Lucia says, it's hypocrisy of the highest order. I'm always a believer, and I've always been an activist around health issues. I have never understood why somebody who earns $1 million shillings pays a maximum of 2,000 for NHIF as a proportion of that salary. Now urudi uangalie ule mwingine who is earning 10,000 but pays 500. Who pays more? The poor person pays more. Why don't we for once have NHIF paid as a proportion of salary, so that in your 1 million, if they take 5% or 10%, surely you'll be aggressive to know that pesa yako ilienda wapi, inafanya kazi wapi, then this money must go to public entities. There is no reason as to why NHIF should cover private hospitals, by the way. I don't understand. Let all the money that is collected through NHIF be expended in the public hospitals, improve the quality of medical, improve the salaries of doctors and nurses and all medical workers. With that, I think we'll be moving somewhere. By the way, this conversation, if you had it in the UK, that you are using public money to subsidize private healthcare. That is a big debate. In fact, the Prime Minister would have resigned yesterday. Even at the mere suggestion that you collect money publicly, then you take it private. Yeah, if you can afford private, go private. But majority of Kenyans, where we must not be capitalistic, is health, education, transport,
food and water,
food security, and all. There are basically 5 issues, and education. Yeah, because if we tackle those issues well, the 5 issues, then I can tell you for sure that will be an equalizer. I do not need to be a billionaire to live. I do not have to worry about leaving my children well, because they will always have a good start.
But the question is, Mijungu, what really is the problem? Is it an helicopter or medical care? Because if we had an hospital in Mumias that is well equipped, why do you need a chopper to go to hospital?
Do you know an helicopter is not an issue? I know so many helicopters that are, because I have the privilege of having to know what Westerners do. Maybe not everybody can do it, but choppers are always on standby for anyone It does not have to be an MP. So the argument of it being for an MP is what is wrong. But a chopper should be there for anybody. If there's an accident in Mombasa Road or Thika Road, regardless of whether it's Mama Mboga or anybody, but that is the price we are paying for not having good healthcare system and a functional system within the healthcare. Because if it was functional, we would have all the choppers that are available for anybody. It does not matter what happens. Because what
or actually all the hospitals are available.
Oh, yeah.
You don't even need to, I mean, you can even walk into an hospital.
You can even walk in free at the point of need.
Yeah, let me tell you something. The cost of building an ultra-modern hospital in recent times, if we are building it, say, in Nairobi, where the cost of everything is a bit higher, would come to about 1.8 billion Kenyan shillings. If we are building if we are building a current hospital, you know, that kind of caliber, it will come to 1.8 billion shillings. So let's just say a round figure of 2 billion Kenyan shillings. Since we reported our first case of COVID, we've collected over 200 billion. Yet we still don't have a hospital.
None.
With 200 billion, we will be having a hospital, an ultra-modern hospital in each county, and we will be having the capacity to pay the support staff.
Doctors.
We will be having the capacity to pay the doctors, the nurses. The healthcare system would actually function only with the money we've received during the COVID period. Now imagine if all the money we've lost in Afya House scandals was utilized the way it was supposed to be. Where would we be as a country just in these 7 years that Jubilee government has been in place? We will be so far. But then that is not a priority. And you see, this is what annoys me. President Amenda ku launch hospitali for UN workers. Mr. Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, tell those UN workers to support the BBI. Tell those people you've launched a hospital for to listen to your State of the Nation address speech. Go talk to those people you're launching hospitals to. Because you want the rest of us to die, we are not going to give 2 cents to anything that you're going to say.
Lucia,
you don't deserve to be president. Shame on you.
Lucia, there's
It is
something I thought you were
annoying.
going to say. Lucia, this is what I thought you were going to say.
When the Taftia Kwanza, I don't want to be slapped like this.
No.
So I need some shield.
Actually, for me, I thought this was what you wanted to say. That the public sector, the government, should just go to Nairobi Hospital and that UN hospital and ask them how much they spent to construct that hospital. Then come back to public sector and tell us how much are they using to construct the ones that are made for the public. First of all, they are substandard. They don't have the right equipment. They are more expensive.
They are understaffed.
They're understaffed. And people are suffering. Nikal should cry the more. If he can go to parliament and he cries every day until he responds. Because he is crying, but he's the one with the responsibility. Surely. Where does he want
So he should cry the more.
Exactly.
He should cry.
Sasa anataka pia sisi tuanze kulia na yeye. Let's turn this into a morning and crying session.
1911-2020, Nikal cried.
Na Laura hapo baadaye. Kwingineko, baadhi ya wabunge wa kamati ya afya leo wamebubujikwa na fedheheka, huku ikiarifiwa kuwa wahudumu wa afya pia baada ya kutambua
State House with the president. I wish we were having this meeting in State House with the president chairing. Then all those who he listens to can make their contribution. That is, you remember my definition of the government. The president and the people he listens to. Those are the people we want to listen to this. I don't like this.
All right, easy.
You can do that to your doctors and your health workers. It's not fair. It's not fair.
Take it easy. We hear you, Mheshimiwa.
It's not fair.
You know, Mheshimiwa. It's painful, Daktari. It's painful, Daktari.
Health cannot be business.
We hear you, Mheshimiwa. We hear you, Mheshimiwa.
Now, Health Services Commission. Yes, it can be statutory, it can be constitutional. The only reason, and I've not worked as aggressively as it is, as I would have, because I know we have agreed that we are going to have a devolved system of government. And I know that a person who is running an institution will feel disenfranchised if the people that he's working with are being employed promoted discipline by somebody else. That's also a reality. The governors are also not wrong to be reluctant. But what is the reason why the doctors are insisting? Say whether I'm wrong. It is because one element of the constitution in this country has never been implemented. The national government, the ministry has policy and standards. Are they able to go to the counties and say, this is not according to standard, this is not the policy, we want it to be done differently? What will be the answer? This is a devolved function. Therefore, you can't come here. So what is the point of a national government that cannot enforce standards and policies?
Nikal cried.
He cried.
I need someone to cry. Tuanze kumbembeleza kama Nikal.
You know,
Nyamaza Mijungu. Mijungu nyamaza, we can hear you.
Yes, you can imagine. You're the one who's aggrieved.
Yes.
And then you come to complain to me because I'm the one who can change that situation.
Yes.
That you find me when you cry.
I start crying and then wewe mwenye uko na shida ndo unaanza kunibembeleza bana pole bana sikujua hii story itakuwa affect hivyo. Nani wewe ndio uko na shida?
Very sad. Mijungu, you still have anything on that?
Tumebeba watu vibaya.
You know, healthcare is critical not just for members of parliament, not just for the public, but for the well-being of the nation. A healthy nation, you work better, you do better, you prosper. There's an institution here that keeps complaining that they don't have power, the Senate. But you know that is where health is. It's not even at the National Assembly because it's a default function. Say for this referral hospital, that, you know, the referral hospital is like the last end of it. Hatuwezi kufanya huku, let us refer you to this other place.
But have they with devolution, have they also devolved resources? Because that has been the struggle as well in the counties.
Who says the resources are not devolved? When you hear there are governors who are corrupt, what does that tell you? There is money. It's only that it is not been devolved much enough for us to do for you what we need to do for you and to steal. Yes, but if people are committed, and there's nothing that stops the national government from giving conditional grants to any governor who does better. If you are a good governor, you might end up even having 50 billion in a year. Because if the national government can trust you that this project, we can implement it with governor so-and-so, he has done well on health, why don't we do it with so-and-so? And these are collaborative mechanisms that can actually be adopted, but even governors at their own level. If Oparanya is doing something in Kakamega and we can see the hospital coming up, how is it not possible for him to help Obado in Migori? If Kirinyaga governor and Waiguru is doing the same in Kirinyaga, why can't he help the other governor in Kiambu to do the same? Remember during Kavogo's time, remember during Kavogo's time, people used to come from Nairobi. They will come from Nairobi to go give birth in Kiambu. Today, that is gone by the mere fact that you replace Kabogo with Waititu. But also
and replace Waititu in Nyoro.
Imagine.
I think the people of Kiambu are very bad taste.
There's a song that says straight out of the frying pan into the fire. I think that is the story of Kiambu.
Now you have a professional who is in Nyoro, but he's even doing worse. Now, but that also calls for the system. What kind of system? Where was Kabogo's failure? Probably he had to have a system within the hospital that works beyond his stay as governor. That was his failure. But overall, he got 90%. He would have an A. But that is the dysfunction that we have here. So for me, the institution that is sleeping on healthcare issues is the Senate. They want money for oversight. Please, before you even talk about oversight, what kind of policies have you set out? What kind of standards have you initiated? So that when we are doing healthcare in Migori, in Kakamega, in Kiambu, in Nairobi, they are standardized. And I'll repeat what I said. If the president launched something in Gigiri for the UN workers, please just go there, pick that standard, ask. By the way, the public service, they don't need to do anything strange. They only need to call the person who did the construction and did the supplies. Give us the receipts, give us everything. Put in the public sector, how much did it cost? 2 billion. The last one we did, how much was it? 4 billion. Okay, just give me everything the way it was done there. There is land. Here is 2 billion. Go do it the same. Replicate it. How hard is that? But because of our interest, I mean, I even had the cabinet secretary for health saying this visa thing, I don't believe. You remember that? I mean, we've already forgot that this guy, we are not doing anything in Cambridge to get our own vaccines. And even if we are doing, we don't even know where it is. We are not as briefed as the Western nations have briefed their citizens on what they are doing. But you are telling us that what has given people hope. Do you know Pfizer had to revise? It was cheeky for me, but they had to revise their 90% to 95% effectiveness. Whether it is true or false, but they are doing something.
They have sold us psychology.
Imagine, look at Cambridge. I can tell you the best research medical facility you can ever find in Eastern Central Africa. In fact, the whole Africa, I think we are number 1 or 2 or something like that. Courtesy to that guy called Koech. You can imagine we have it, but we are not doing something with it. Because if we are doing, not even testing kits. Here in Senegal, they had even kits that could test as as long as 2 minutes. Within 2 minutes, you already have your
results.
Right now, but here, we have to make it expensive because it's a business. Yani, this country, we have a penchant for punishing success. It does not matter. Even if you start a business today, tomorrow KRA is there. We think you are even making more. The assessment should be this way. They are not encouraging your business. They are not asking you. And it is what we see in public service. They are not asking you, how are you here? What challenges are you getting? How do we grow you further? How much are you making? Do you think if people did it more, how much would the country make? And then now you can come with your tax. But before you even think of tax, you've already come there. You are doing your assessment. If you ask a KRA official, I have been there, you ask them if they know how people do production, how they get profit. They don't know. All they do is to collect. So are they sensitive to business needs of the country, for example? I mean, we are just in a big mess.
Autopilot. Muchendu, Nikal cried.
You know, I think I can relate with his frustrations. You know, he was the director of medical services, national director of medical services between 2003 and 2008.
Where?
In Kenya. He went on to become the permanent secretary for urban, I think, and housing, if I can remember my...
Very true.
Yes. This guy is one of the best people in parliament today for me, especially in terms of contributions. And I think it is a frustration that members of parliament are already frustrated. How much more is it for the common Wanjiko who cannot voice out his frustration in parliament like Dr. Nikal? And we are here still saying form the BBI. You know, I don't have a problem with constitutional movements, as the president would want to say, and I don't have a problem with the president comparing himself with Moses, who saw the promised land. But I have a problem with, you saw a promised land, but you have not created a good path to get there. What if every Kenyan dies of COVID? Who will get to that promised land? And I think that is a problem we have. How do we have our first line workers, health workers, dying? Tomorrow we will be laying to rest the deputy med sup of Thika Level 5 in Kiambu.
Sir.
A very amazing woman who has contributed toward the development of Thika Level 5 to become one of the best hospitals in the country. It is sad that these people, one, they don't have insurance. They are not given insurance. It is very sad that the protective gear that the government is currently used is being questioned by the organization. What is the quality level of the things that they use to do this? Therefore, I think we have a nation that has its priority upside down. Because today, we cannot be talking about 14 billion going to referendum. Let me tell you, the companies, there are 2 companies that have declared they have finally found a vaccine. If you go to the US has already ordered about 300 million vaccines. We have nations that have ordered 30 million vaccines. What has this country ordered for its people?
China has ordered 500 million.
500. Yeah. What has this country ordered?
Did you hear your CS? Did you hear your CS?
Let me tell you, can I be honest?
He wants business to continue.
Yes, can I tell you? I listened to him the first 10 minutes and I could not take it.
Okay.
I just went to bed. Because let me tell you, that guy, he is only trained to be a very good PR. And I have been insisting, Jubilee government from the first term to the second term has been a government that has been formulated on a PR platform.
On spin.
Yes, on spin. They have been spinning Kenyans and spinning Kenyans until reality has dawned. Coronavirus, you cannot spin coronavirus. It is either you are working to help eradicate it or you're not. And I think for me, Mutahi Kagwe could only spin us for some few months. And I remember he even got accommodation from the great New York Times. He got a mention the first few months. But let me tell you, you can only tell a lie for too much. And then there is, you cannot fool all the people all the time. And I think it is time Mutahi Kagwe realizes that Kenyans are tired with his PR exercise. He needs to come out and tell us, are we making our own vaccine? If we are not, what are the real strategy to ensure that Kenyans get this vaccine? Because I think that is a problem. Let me tell you something. If you look at the cost of 2 vaccines, because everybody is gonna get 2 vaccines. If you look at the cost, and then that cost subdivided with the 14 billion that is supposed to go to the BBI, you will realize that we will be able to get about 5 million vaccines in this country. What is the vulnerable percentage to the coronavirus in this country? It is less than 5 million. In fact, if you look at the vulnerable, the kids they are talking about and the old people, we are talking about the most vulnerable people in this country to the coronavirus to be about 3.3 million. Therefore, this money is enough to procure a vaccine that would help this country see its tomorrow. And that actually makes me worry, because we are not hearing government talking about dealing with coronavirus. Mutahi Kagwe comes and tells us that we are on our own, and NHIF cannot pay for coronavirus. Then yesterday we saw the Minister of Education giving us nonsense how the NHIF will cater for the student and coronavirus. Who is speaking on behalf of, what exactly is the stand of government on the issue of NHIF? It is a proof that there is a government that does not exist. Because if you ask me, what is the purpose of a government that cannot help its citizen during a pandemic?
Yeah.
We are being exploited by commercial insurances, and then the government-sponsored insurance comes and tells us that we are on our own. So when you see Dr. Nyikal crying, Dr. Nyikal is a very big voice in the medical world, and I can understand his pain and his passion for health.
What has he done in terms of health in this constituency? I think that is how we
you see now that is another problem. Let me tell you, Bitok. Our constitution has devolved the involvement of members of parliament in matters health. Yeah. If you want to do matters health in a constituency, you do it on your own good. You cannot use your CDF money to do anything that is going to health. But the most dramatic thing is that this Ministry of Health, the National Government Ministry of Health, despite the fact that health is devolved, there is a lot of money that has left with the national government, but the MPs cannot access it. They cannot talk about health because it is a devolved function to the counties. What is this money doing in the Ministry of Health? You hear I think this financial year we have allocated them hundreds of billions. Well, I mean, I think if my memory serves me correct, the budget for the Department of Health, the Ministry of Health, is almost equal to the entire revenue share of all the 47 counties.
Yeah.
And this begs the question, what exactly did we devolve? We devolved the responsibility, but we kept the money.
The Ministry of Health actually gets around 350 to 415
that is about extra 30 billion over and top of what the counties are getting. And I think this is where the problem is.
Right.
We gave secondment of so many health workers to counties, but we were left with the money. I'll give you an example. I am from Kiambu County. We are doing a budget of 5.4
from
billion.
Nyoras County.
Yes.
Is it the frying pan or the fire?
Time will tell. We are doing a budget of 5.4 billion. Matters health in Kiambu County. But you'll be surprised, 3.64 billion. It is recurrence expenditure. Why? After Nairobi, Kiambu received the biggest secondment of health, Ministry of Health employees. And then the third one was Kakamega. But these guys gave us a low whooping employees, but they did not give us the money. And I think that is where Uhuru is missing the mark. Can I tell you, we will not be counting the 14 billion of BBI. It is a small token in the budget. But the fact that you have not given attention to coronavirus, we are going to count any other money that we feel that is going to waste. It should be directed to the Ministry of Health. We should be talking about subsidizing what NHIF is doing, so that our people know, as long as I have an NHIF, I am taken care of.
Right.
So I think this government needs to reboot and go back to the factory setting and understand the priorities of this republic. We have just lost another MCA last night.
From Nakuru.
From Nakuru. And it is a third one in Nakuru.
Poleni sana watu wa Nakuru.
So, I mean, what exactly? We have lost a principal. An entire school yesterday, an entire high school, students who reported back, I think 57 of them have contracted coronavirus. Entire school. What exactly are you waiting for? I'm telling parents, keep your children at home. Keep your children at home.
Watoto wakae nyumbani.
Let me even shock you more.
Yes.
Since children reported back to school, we've lost 19 principals. 19 since schools reopened.
And 64 teachers.
64 classroom teachers. How many people are those? You know, and you know, our kids are there. And there's no contact tracing that is going on for these people who are sick, for those ones who have died. So, tumeachia tu watoto wetu neema za Bwana, you know, like Mungu atawalinda tu. COVID, lakini Mungu atawalinda tu. And now my problem with this whole situation is, in as much as MPs cannot use their CDF money on matters health, one of the roles of the MPs is oversight. Ministry of Health has been losing money since 2015. Every year, consistently, a lot of money, si pesa kidogo. Why is it that our members of parliament have done nothing to oversee it? Ni nini iko pale Ministry of Health yenye imeogopwa sana that things will just be said and then they never see the light of day, you know?
I think it's gangland. Mijungu.
Yes.
I see you've been absorbing and waiting to.
Yes. Yeah, I'm listening.
So when you're crying and we have mandated you to oversee this thing, you know, it's not a problem yenye imetokea jana. The problems at the Ministry of Health did not start with COVID.
They started with Nikal when he was director.
Okay, yeah. So when you're sitting here and you're shedding tears and you want us to feel sorry for you for what? We are giving taxes to pay your salary and you're not doing your job. You're really not doing your job. Alafu unakuja kulia, unataka tukubembeleze. Kwani we ni mtoto?
Lucia, I wish
who is your parent?
Was around.
Who is your mother?
So that I just guide him a bit. I know we haven't come to this topic of BBI, but when you say
we're heading there,
But
I think maybe let's finish up with this health thing and Nyekal.
What I wanted to say was when you talk about health and money not going down there, and you talk about BBI and they talk about devolving 35%. So we want this money to go, but we have an opportunity to put it here, so that it's not goodwill. We are seeing what goodwill is doing to health today. So we are saying, if they say 35% going down, let it be 35% and the health money will be there to improve healthcare. At least we can deal with our problems locally. So right now Kenyans, and many Kenyans, are saying we don't want BBI. because we can implement the constitution. The only thing we need is goodwill. So we lack goodwill today to do it. Because Nikal describes the government is the president and those who listen to him. So any president that we elect, we are just clutching on straws. Does he have goodwill? We don't know. Until we elect that president and he sits or she sits, then we will know whether there's goodwill or not. We have an opportunity to put it there. So we need to go further and dispel rumors around this bill. When you say 14 billion, for example, IEBC has 14 billion was for a general election where you elect the MCA, everybody else to the president. It is not about a two-tier ballot, one ballot for every person just to say yes or no in a referendum. So I don't think this is 2 billion. When you talk about that IEBC, as to whether they need the 14 billion, we always know that the costs there are inflated. We have an opportunity to reduce it. We are not talking about reducing
But
it.
we've already used 10 billion to move around and talk about BBI.
No, that is what is being propagated. As to whether they've come out and I say, here is what we've spent on 10 billion, that is not there.
Okay.
Let us be honest. No one has seen it. Now, this 14 billion that we're saying, we could even use it, like you said, for vaccinations. It has not even budgeted for that BBI. Now, let's go to IEBC. We have people who are capable, Bitok, Lucia. I do not need to be paid to be a returning officer. Go to Denmark. A returning officer does not have to be paid. Get well to do. You know, when you come to reforms, let us not think money when it comes to reforms. Look at IEBC. How do we reduce the cost? If I take Bitok, Billy is here. I'm well-to-do, a bit of well-to-do people, civil servants. All you need to do is what they do in the US when it comes to jury duty. Supino, a public servant of rank, that Joshua Oigara, who earns 300 million shillings a year, that would be the returning officer for Turkana. Do I need to pay him? I don't need to pay him. Supino, another person. We can get all these brains to sit. Believe you me, they will give us the desired results for no money. Will we still have 14 billion budget in IEBC? It's because government runs on the basis of, we have a policy. Do we have the budget? Nonsense. Let us think, where is our civil duty? I like what is in BBI. It gives us the bill of duties. You can legislate under the bill of duties. We shall be supinoing returning officers. They shall be people well to do. In fact, we can get all chief executives who are earning 300,000 to 4 million shillings every month to be our returning officers in the constituency. Do you think we cannot get 290 people? And do you think we cannot get 1,500 well-to-do people to do that work for free? And we will send them anywhere. That is civic duty. So, in terms of reducing the budget of IEBC to next to nothing, we only need not even to think outside the box. Throw the box away and we will be able to tackle it. So as to whether we are peddling the use of 14 billion for such an activity, that is neither here nor there. We are still not thinking. But the more we think, let us go to other jurisdictions on how they do it. It is a civic duty to be able to do this, and we should be able to do it for free.
Be a returning officer.
Of course.
It's a civic duty.
Of course, yeah. So we do not need to spend a lot of money doing things that, I mean, Bitok, kukaa tu for one night to help your country count votes and record it. Do I have to be paid? Do I have to be paid? Then we will avoid the people who are there for money. Mimi, kama silipwi, mimi sitafanya. We have a chief executive who is earning 300 million a year. He does not really care. He will care about, have I done my job well? So if this guy can run KCB very, very well, surely he can run the county returning office of Turkana very, very well at no cost, just overnight. He has the system in his mind, in his head and all that. So can we think better? I do not oppose BBI because there are very, very good things in there. I hope we'll get to that discussion.
Yeah, and the question is, we're talking about management of other sectors. You have people running very good private businesses, but they can't run government.
Yes.
How do you shape the paradox?
Because of the bureaucracy within government, like I've explained. Today, if you're a government officer who is traveling for work abroad, the first thing they'll ask is their travel budget. How much are the per diems? What makes it not easy for us to get all our embassies to be able to book, because we have embassies all over, and have reciprocal arrangements with hotels. If you are a government officer traveling to Tanzania, the Kenya government has an arrangement with a particular secure hotel where you'd be residing, and we will be able to sort out the bail. Let me tell you what you will be removing. An officer who is going to Tanzania, who is motivated by going to live in some dungeon cheap hotel in some downtown to be able to save their per diems and earn and push up his earnings, will not be interested in traveling to Tanzania. Do you know why? Because he will travel to a designated hotel picked by a vehicle from the embassy and to a meeting, then back to the airport and narudi. When he comes back, he's in the office earning his salary. Whether it's 30,000 or 20,000, it does not matter. You understand? They will not be motivated. With that, we will be reducing the cost, because if you look at our recurrent expenditure, much of it that we look around here is about 14 billion. It's the billions and billions that go into travel allowances and per diems. So it is how we think of doing things.
Right.
Yes. If we
Let's talk about drones. Kivuta kibwana Murkomen wanasema wametumia ma drones. I don't know, maybe Kenya has started manufacturing drones and we are doing some air test of the drones. What's going on?
If you want attention, what do you do?
Then it will be, if indeed it would be true, which with all honesty I highly doubt. If indeed it will be true, then it will be in total contravention of the Gazette notice by the Minister for Transport.
KCA,
banning drones in this country. Even those people who are doing drones are doing it illegally.
Yes.
If that will be the case, it is government contravening its own regulations, which would be bad. The reason why I find it more suspicious that somebody would say he has been sent drones. Drones are, we have not come to the age of the real, like the way the United States has employed drones in the army. We are not yet there. So I think for me, I would say that was a little bit going too far to seek attention.
No, I disagree. I disagree. And I'll tell
Can
you.
you hear me and have a rebuttal?
Yes, go.
Let me ask you. Where does Murkomen live? I'm also assuming Kivuta is probably a neighbor. They are very lucky to have rich neighborhoods and friends, and they're playing with drones. I think it's okay. Let them not blame the government. But indeed, let me ask you, in this era today, do you really need to have drones to know where Murkomen is? No, you don't even need. In fact, today, when I was coming here, I came in an Uber. Probably the whole world already knows my location. But the mere fact that my location is on, they already know mimi niko kwa Bitok. Sasa, it doesn't have to be drones. What are they monitoring? Did they get into the house with the drones? They have Alexa there with the smart drones. Alexa, can you go to Murkomen's bedroom? No.
Alexa, call Siri.
Siri. So for me, I think it was attention. Lucia disagrees, but she can have her day.
Yes, Lucia.
Billy, who sent you? Money has been poured here.
I'll finish you.
Billy is here to quinish me. Anyway, I disagree. Okay, I partially disagree. I think to say that they were sent drones might be a bit nahuko. But then I wouldn't put it past the government of Kenya. I wouldn't really put it past the government of Kenya. This government can do anything, especially when they're desperate. We all know that. We all know that. And I say this because KK has expressed his interest in running for presidency, and he has some clout, you know, like when.
Which one?
No, let me tell you. Listen, when this clout might only be on Twitter, and maybe not even that much.
You should ask Peter Kenneth.
Yeah, I know. But you see, he has some clout, and whatever it is, maybe someone somewhere feels like they're threatened by it, although not likely, maybe. But then we cannot just rubbish them and say like, oh no, they're clout chasing. If tomorrow one of them dies, we'll sit here and go like, oh, you know, they say the drones were hovering over their houses and we didn't take them seriously. Let's just take it with a pinch of salt. Let's not put anything above this government because they're capable of anything. And let us not forget that the British Army and the US Army are around here and they have drones and they can use those drones. So it doesn't necessarily have to be Kenyans using those drones. Not necessarily.
Lucia, let me give you some history with Kivutha.
No, wait. There's this thing. It's called I keep forgetting the name. There's a device that it's called a something catcher. So when this device is within 5 kilometers of your radius, it can send texts from your phone. It can. There's all this spying technology that is going around, and you know we have a cordial relationship with Israel, and we are frolicking with China. Anything at this point is very possible. Yeah. Extremely possible.
There's nothing to fear.
Yeah.
Because we certainly cannot close their mouths. They've already talked. So really, we can't. So why would I monitor them?
Are they trying to say that we are now having the Trump-Russian movement?
Trump-Russia.
You know, let me tell you, if you ask me, I am gonna treat those accusations with the contempt
that
they deserve. That it is just a whim, it is the fear of the unknown. It is
when
you talk about drones on Twitter, it elicits feeling. It is true. If you remember the Gazette notice, when that Gazette notice banning drones came out, it was a very big thing on Twitter.
But there are a lot of drones here, Muchendu. You cannot tell me you've not seen drones. I even have one. At times I can even run in your compound. What are you saying?
I'm just saying, you saying that they are specifically sent to monitor you. What is that?
I'll start sending mine today.
What is that so unique that you have done to warrant government putting our drones on you? Come on, let's be serious, man.
Next week nitatumia nani drone yangu iende Ndeya, nitatumia Muchendu. Anyway, quickly moving forward, niangalie comments hapa alafu we switch off to mambo ya shule na mabibi. Naona Michael Kio, naona Mamsha Ian Kithere, John Burgas, I'm watching from the show from Upper Hill, Nairobi. David Ola sama is my girl Ayela senior. Kimutai Yatona sama Kenya should have balanced fine playing field for everyone. You guys are the ones in the offices, not the crooked old cronies like Atwali. Lots of intelligence. Felix Nyagari sama Billy Mishungu, welcome to Kenya. Max Kibaya sama, why is this guy dreaming? Are you living in Denmark? Erone sama, priorities are wrong as a country. Felix Nyagari sama, you're talking BBI when people are dying. Mwema Steve anasema Nyikal should be thoroughly whipped for shedding crocodile tears. Kibari Kipta sama, I wish Honorable Nyikal cried and talked of BBI and disowned it if he really serious about corona situation and our doctors. Eunice Kidoma and some BBI is not for all Kenyans. It is for Raila and his followers. May they contribute for their business because they are the beneficiaries. Nani naona hapa pia Rono yasema coronavirus is very serious. It's a killer virus. Let's all take great care, Kenyans. Jason yasema viva Kavena P.MUCHENDU. This mask yasema whoever devolved health is a madman. From hiring of workers to payments. It's a real road to the core. Imagine finishing college in 2014 and in employment, someone who finished in graduate in December is employed. Which merit was used there? David Kamasama, for me, I stopped watching the corona updates long time ago because of Mutai Kagwe. Eunice Kidome anasema let us keep aside this nonsense of BBI and look for ways of eradicating coronavirus in our country. Masculinely, I couldn't watch his sanitization program on JKL. On that anasema any day I see Mutai Kagwe addressing media, I switch to Twitter or something else. I hate him just talking without reasoning. Kabon Sara anasema watching kabisa Kipkwachi anasema Mutai Kagwe is just a power broker. Bolinchi anasema Kaboga is a consistent leader. Kiambu lost a gem. Bieden Kensama, thank you Kavana P.MUCHENDU kuangalia HCW splat and that is watu wa hospitali. Jackson Juga sama Governor P.MUCHENDU, thanks for the nail on the head. Zama kudos Mushendu. Titus Chirudin sama our country is in deep shit. Let's call a spade a spade. Let us Chirudin sama if I cry, how much am I going to get paid? Anza kulia haters. Anasema Kenyan leaders just style of crocodile tears with the common mwananchi are faced even worse situations. Atuna kwetu kuzuri atawapi. This government is rotten from the top. The leader should suffer more and more so that they can change the lives of the commoners. Max anasema president and those who listens to him, he has also admitted his failure as an MP. Like now the president has not listened to me. David Kamsa, we talked the truth and Nikal as a point that is Max Kimeli. All right, what's your down? The crying doctor, not a minister once. What they did do then? By the way, it'd be interesting to know that. Jai Kevo anasema greetings to my former NYC chair Billy Mijungu watching from Dallas, Texas. Na watu wa ngambo amazo kusalimia. Domi anasema niko ndani kabisa from Eldoret. Geoffrey Odiama, good morning my brother. I'm watching from Kisumu City. Watu wa Kisumu City, asante sana. Kipwezi anasema what's so hard for you to call Murkomen and Kibwana to confirm the issue of drones. They are the ones who raised the issue. Who are we to judge them? I'll call Murkomen. Probably he can come in tomorrow.
We are looking for Kibwana also.
And also Kibwana. You can call KK in the afternoon. Pauline Cherema, money stopped coming from donors, so the available money is for Mutai and company to hold conferences and tea. Hiyo ni mambo ya masaibu ya dunia hii. Arnold anasema Mutai Kagwe is more or less of someone protecting his job. Unfortunately, I stop believing all what man Kagwe says about COVID-19. Secondly, we need to wake up to us Kenyans. By the way, let's talk about Nikal briefly as we move forward. What was his achievement, especially as a minister?
Yeah, you wanted to give us a history.
It is good to say he was not a minister.
Director.
Yes, he was director of medical services 2003 to 2008. And then he became the what do you call it? The PS, Permanent Secretary, Urban Development or something. I can't actually recall. Yes, Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Services. And I think he was, before he became the medical director of medical services, he was the vice chairman of medical practitioners and dentist board. Before then, he was the lecturer at the University of Nairobi. And he is a pediatrician by profession. So his training is in pediatric, mambo ya watoto. And I think, if you remember, one of the things I know, I may not know what he did for the common mwananchi or for the doctors by excellency, but he ensured that the medical practitioners and dentist board became a voice for the medic. He did, I think, 2 or 3 gazette notices that empowered the medical and practitioners board to become self-resilient and to be able to discipline its members without necessarily the government disciplining them. So I think to that extent, he did well as the director of medical services. I cannot really blame him on the policy because he was neither the permanent secretary nor the minister, where the policy level is
his colleague Ongeri.
Yes, exactly. So I think Sam Ongeri. Yes, Professor Sam Ongeri. So as a director of medical services, you are directly implementing policies, not per se making them. So I cannot really say that he stood in a position where you could judge him on the medical practices then in this country because he did not make policies. But I think for me, this is the thing. As a member of parliament and as a medical practitioner, it begs the question of what are the legislative agendas you have brought in parliament to be able to actualize what you believe ought to be done in that department. So maybe we should check on his record as a member of parliament, what is it that he has done for the medics and the medical world. I think that is where now we can gauge him as a legislature. I mean, what have you done with the power the people of your constituents have given you to come to the National Assembly? I think we will be looking at that history and see what is his contribution as far as matters health are concerned in Parliament. Yes.
I have no doubt as to the capability of Dr. James Nikal. I have no doubt as to the extent of his technical know-how in driving health agenda. I have no doubt. What I have doubt with is the tears. He cannot be teary in front of the watching public, blaming medical issues or whatever, yet he has the role of oversight, allocating money, monitoring, and doing all those stuff. That is what, but overall as a person, he's a very good person, and he knows his work. I have no doubt.
At least he's emotional, I think.
Yeah.
We can say he's human. Now that he can cry, we can only, at least we can say, at least he's human. All right, Lucia.
I think Muchendu is right when he says that we need to gauge him as a legislator, because his track record before he became a legislator looks fine. And this also begs the question, what happens to people when they get into parliament? You know, like someone is a performer and then they go into parliament and then they're full of shit.
In fact, the more I look at politics, the more I get so disinterested.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It's disheartening. Dr. Nyikal has every right to feel whatever he wants to feel about whatever he wants to feel. So does all the parliamentarians. But then after crying, what next? You know, you've complained. You've said, oh, ABCD has happened. Oh, this and this is what is going on. Oh, government is this and this and that. So what next? Tuendelee kulia ama? You know, I really want to know what's next. Yeah.
Alright. Titus amesema tulie. So Titus afadhali utakuja kutuongoza kwa kwaya ya kulia tuone kama naweza saidia hizi mambo. As before we move to the newspapers, yesterday Mutahi Kagwe has disagreed on the opening dates of the school that are announced by the Ministry of Education, the calendar, and he's saying that the dates might change. At one point, can we be sure that serikali sasa imesema na imesema ukweli? Especially when you're dealing with children. I'll start with you, Mijungu.
Yeah, I think it's been a bit patchy for George Magoha in terms of driving the policy for schools, especially during Corona period. Give it to him. When he was, let's talk about what happened to him recently, where they took the HR functions. I mean, it didn't make sense to me, regardless of whether you've taken the HR functions from him and given to your PS, but he remains a boss in the ministry.
I think it was a PR. I think it was a PR thing.
And then he has to direct the PS to sort, because when he goes to inspect a station and there's a problem in that station, he can take the name of the officer, reprimand the officer, and tell the PS to act because he's the boss. So really, I think it is rearranging chairs in your sitting room. Really didn't make sense to me. I think he's had occasions where he has gaffed a lot in terms of driving the issues of education, where he says this but does the other and says another thing, and I think it's the nature of the disease, and this disease has been metamorphosizing in many ways, and the way the trends have been. So you can say something today, then something comes up tomorrow, new decisions are made, and you have to change your mind. I think he had to be a little more careful. What you shouldn't forget is one, government. You have these people called cartels that never leave. They will always set you up. The advice you are given, the minister does not just wake up and say anything. Believe you me, if you wrote a letter to a minister today, it's likely that letter would be marked down. Then it would procedurally come up back to the minister for decision making. So they don't just make decisions on their whims. They make decisions on the advice of the technical officers, on the situations on the ground, all factors considered around them. So they don't just make decisions. So if you see a minister or government person talking, believe you me, they've gone through a lot of processes. And in this kind of processes, because of the nature of bureaucracy, people tend to put their own things in there, which is sad, because people who do not have interest of the country at heart or have their own interests to put and all that. So they will always put things in there that would mess you in the end. I want to tell you something that we probably would have forgot by now. Remember Joe Lenku? Joe Lenku would come to the media, somebody who was handling a place as sensitive as interior, and would be doing gaffes after gaffes after every single day. This is a person who was surrounded by seasoned interior people, seasoned generals. Exactly. Do you really think he would be making those statements? Somebody who has no security training or security background. He's basically a spokesperson for the ministry. Then it turns out he's making all these mistakes. So people do set you down there. When it comes up at the top, you are left alone because then you have to pick the pieces.
So which date you do is as parents to say shule tafunguliwa ama tungoja tu freestyling?
For me, I have a 14-year-old son who is in school, who is sitting for exams. He must be in school, let him do his exams. This thing will come for us whether we like it, whether we have vaccines or not. It will come to us. The better we socialize ourselves that we have a disease that we have to deal with the way we deal with HIV and all, the better we live with it. if you come to an issue of vaccination, for example, by the way, I would not even recommend it for my own children, that vaccination. Because the issues, side effects, we don't know whether there's sterilization. I wouldn't be the person who want to make decisions that then affect my children later on. So it would probably start with medical practitioners, then you go to the most vulnerable in the society, then you come to those people who have at least had families, who
not medical. I think we should start with the politicians as guinea pigs. We should start from Kalu are crying.
If it
by the
works,
way, most of them are over 50.
Just
so
to be
they
sure.
would voluntarily do it.
if it works, we are safe.
Have you realized that
If
older
it
people even fear to die more than young
More
people?
than the young people.
If you see Nikal crying, he's not crying because of Kenyans. He's crying because like
That is savage, man.
when you see
That's so
Nikal
savage.
crying, he's not crying because someone afforded medical care. For him, it's like, so this thing can actually kill me. I think the older you get, the more you fear to die.
No,
That's Muchendu.
I think, as you have said, we don't know the side effect of the coronavirus vaccine, but nonetheless, what is it that we have? How else can this get? If you are killed by the virus, you better be killed trying the vaccine, because there is no way of getting this thing better. But I think for me is there is a disconnect in the communiques done by the government, because when you have the Mutahi Kagwe on one side saying that NHIF is not able to cover 1, 2, 3. Then you have the Minister for Education coming to tell us that how he is planning for NHIF to cover all the students, and this will be the opening date. Then you have Mutahi Kagwe saying that he is not going to open school at that particular date. You have a problem. What is exactly is the position of government? And I think for me, the problem we are having is the reward. It is because these people holding senior positions, it is purely a reward scheme. And I'll tell you why I think Mutahi Kagwe was just being rewarded by Uhuru Kenyatta. How many remember John Meshoke endorsing Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta in Murang'a, if you remember? And you can look for that video. Kwa maoni yangu. Now, who is Mutahi Kagwe to John Meshoke?
He's an in-law.
He's a son-in-law. So Uhuru was simply rewarding the endorsement of Meshoke and rewarding Mutahi Kagwe with a position of a minister.
Kwa maoni yangu.
And then Mutahi Kagwe just came at that place when pandemic was shaping up. So therefore he became the talk of the town. It is not that he achieved by informing us and telling us what is happening. But informing us, that is the work of the media. You are the minister. You're supposed to come up with policies. You are supposed to come up with plans and strategies on how to counter the disease. So therefore, I submit to you, Mutahi Kagwe was not given this job on the basis of merit. He was given this job on the basis of being rewarded, because you see, if the father is not there, you reward the children. The other day, I took the Honorable George Nyanja, the former Limuru Member of Parliament. One time he was saved by a former councillor in our place. You remember during Moi's time, it was always a cat and mouse between the forces of President Moi and Kinaorengo and Nani Nyanja. So we took him to say thank you to the family of the councillor. So therefore, Uhuru was simply telling the Meshoke family, thank you very much for having your father endorse me at Murang'a and make it. It is the same day he famously said in Kikuyu, Heg sio kwa mama ya mtu, tutaenda huko na tutarudi. It was the same day. It was the same day. So this is the problem we have Bitok. How many of our ministers are hired on merit?
Talking about Kanjora, by the way, what happened to that guy Clark when alikuwa Clark ndio kwa nini jana? Mazishi ya pop.
Nani, this Ore Magerel? Ore Magero. I was at the burial of the Pop Meto through my aunt. We have known him for some time. He tried to tell people about us following the son of Jomo. For those who don't know, the son of Jomo is simply saying Uhuru Kenyatta, the president of the Republic of Kenya. And guys were so furious for him claiming that we must follow. We don't have a problem with Uhuru Kenyatta. It is true. Let us not kid ourselves. It is true we dethroned him as Kikuyus. We dethroned him and we made him a tribal leader in Kikuyu. That I am as guilty as charged. But that doesn't mean that we follow him blindly. No, we must tell him, mzai barabara unatupeleka haiendi vizuri, na saa hii BBI haiendi vizuri. Hii BBI unatupeleka hiyo ndio inafanya, because let me tell you, why do I have a problem personally with BBI? I don't have a problem with BBI. I have a problem with the genesis of that BBI. That handshake disoriented both government, disoriented the opposition. Uhuru forgot the 4-point agenda that he was to cover. That is why his minister can come and say NHIF cannot be able to cover people. So therefore, I have a problem with what the handshake did. There is what you call the long-term and the short-term goals. The short-term goals was that we have this cosmetic peace going on, because you can see politicians once in a while, despite the handshake, they are throwing jabs at each other. That tells you what we have is a cosmetic, so painted peace that the country is experiencing. But we lost on the long term.
Alright, tusonge kwa magazeti. Gazeti tanda na gazeti ya Standard, Standard newspaper. Pale juu inasema, gazeti Standard inasema pale juu inasema Huduma cards are finally here, says Minister. Biometrics Matiang'i and Musheru roll out cards in Machakos and Kiambu. As Kenyans to expect text directing them where to pick the document. Kama au kuchukua Huduma card, najua LUCIA kuchukua Huduma, utajua malenga pia ni mboga. Pale naona 100,000 teachers to stay home as coronavirus bites. Education and leadership crisis is looming in schools as about 100,000 teachers who fall in high-risk age bracket may be forced to work from home following a directive from Teacher Service Commission. All right. Uhuru meets Ruto as BBI signature drive called off. Consensus. President hosts his deputy at State House. BBI Secretariat sends night alert cancelling planned launch of signature collection, citing delays in publishing of referendum bill. All right, interesting times. President Uhuru Kenyatta, head of the state, held marathon meetings at State House yesterday in last-minute push to build a broad alliance to secure his visions. ODM leader Raila Odinga, the co-architect of the handshake report, has rallied his party to collect 4 million signatures to endorse the referendum push. Deputy President William Ruto is the first of the opposition to the handshake report and wants more views included before document is taken to a no contest referendum. Pale juu pia kuna governor Mutai Kaiga, Governor, my fight with COVID-19 testimony. I had to travel to Mombasa for a governor's meeting on Mashujaa Day. When I arrived, I noticed I had a sore throat, which I thought was an ordinary flu. He calls Governor Mutai Kaiga. Why IBC cannot give you free and fair elections? Chepkati. Kenya's electoral agency has said it cannot guarantee free polls due to persistent political interference, inadequate funding, and high staff turnover. Interesting times to be alive. Naona gazeti ya The People Daily inasema Ruto's new gospel on BBI report, intrigues and battles in Obama's White House journey. Inasema the first shot in US battle for US presidency was fired during the 2004 Democratic Party. That's story America on page 4. Ruto's new gospel on BBI report. I love this country. Napenda hii country. I love this country. Enough never be part of any war, not when there is a real possibility for a win-win consensus beckoning. And as far as them, yes or no contest that will lead to lose outcome is unnecessary and unwarranted. That's the new gospel of Deputy President William Ruto. Change of heart. DP holds talks with Uhuru State House as reports emerge is not keen to lead a no campaign at proposed referendum as today's event to launch collection of signatures postponed. That is on page 5. Magoa pushes for medical cover for students. NHF says it is ready to provide insurance with some extra funding. 72,686 confirmed cases, 804,000 tested, 49,000 recovered, 1,313 dead. 3 in court after child theft exposed. Juzi kulikuwa na mambo ya kwamba watoto wanaibiwa Kenya, hii biashara ya watoto. End of ID card, hiyo ni Daily Nation. Lakini wacha tuanze na mambo ya Standard. Uhuru meets William Ruto. Nianza nayo kwa Mshendu kwa sababu unakuwa kwa kamera mapema.
You know, unajua Kenya imekuwa Sudan, in southern Sudan. It is always a very big headline when Salva Kiir meets Riek Machar, the vice president. And they serve in the same government. And it is sad that the president of the Republic of Kenya meeting the deputy president is news. I mean, where else does this happen apart from Kenya and now Sudan? I mean, I think I have also seen a report by the co-chairs of the BBI nonsense. They have said that what was not printed in time.
Mochendu, if looks could kill Billy, would have killed you.
No, I have absolutely no apology saying it is pure nonsense. They have said that they have postponed the launch today because what was not printed in time. Come on, we went to school. Stop lying to us like small children. We know probably the meetings, the series of meetings the president held in State House may have resorted to the cancellation of the printing of that bill today. There is no way government fails to meet time. The government printer is always on time. And by the way, the reason why I am saying the BBI is nonsense is that because it was not even printed by the government printer. It was printed by the daughter of Raila Odinga. She was the one who was contracted to print the BBI copies. And I'm saying that.
Oh, wow.
You know, forget what is written here. We know facts as they are.
I didn't even
There
get
is no. They also know it is nonsense. They cannot associate it with the government printer. So therefore, Uhuru meeting Ruto, nonetheless, it should not be news. But in this case, we find it to be we find it to be news because it seems like for a moment William Ruto has post reggae. And we can no longer say nobody can stop reggae. We don't know how long the post is gonna take. You know, if you post your TV, if you're watching a movie and you pause your TV for a very long time, the TV shuts down. So we don't know whether the post is gonna stay so long that the BBI is gonna shut down. But nonetheless, I think as William Ruto has said, we seriously need a negotiated document. We don't need to go to, I mean, the rate at which the proponents of BBI are hoping Ruto will become the villain in this BBI, it is on another level. I mean, they pray day and night so that William Ruto wakes up and opposes BBI because the political momentum they are looking for may not be there if Ruto does not oppose this particular document. And you see, he has said he is not keen in leading any campaign against the document. So therefore, I feel for them, those that are proponents of BBI, that I believe the deputy president ultimately will not be vocal in opposing this document, and therefore they failed to get the enemy they so wanted to be on the other side, and that momentum goes. And I think the postponement of today's activity may have a reason to do with that meeting between the president and the deputy president. Otherwise, hii lege lazima tuisimamishe.
Mijungu,
Yes.
William and Uhuru meet as BBI signatures collection is suspended.
Yes.
What do you make?
I don't even know where to start with, Mochendu. I've already demystified your 14 billion on IEBC with the BBI. I've demystified it, and you have not made a comment.
But that is, you have demystified it in Denmark, not in this republic. Not in this republic. Not in this republic. Hell, we even pay Chebukati to be the presidential returning officer, and we still pay him a salary. Please wake up from that nice dream. It can never happen in this country.
All right,
the president has met the deputy president, and it is news.
And BBI collection of signatures is suspended.
Is suspended.
That is the news, actually.
That's the big news.
Yes.
Now, I would put it this way. The reason the DP is not keen on leading a referendum is not because there's no consensus. The reason he's keen is because of the many sweeteners that are in BBI. That is
For politicians especially.
For yes. No. You don't force me in that corner.
No, I'm not forcing you.
The
I'm just saying.
sweeteners that are in the BBI document that is for Central Kenya. It would be very, very hard for Central Kenya not to vote. There could be voter apathy in Central Kenya when voting for the referendum, but I tell you they will pass it. The reason they will pass it because of what they are getting from it. They will never, if you know Central Kenya, no, just wait. If you know Central Kenya, they will not leave what is given to them. They'll first take it and deal with other issues later. The DP, if he leads a no referendum and Central Kenya votes for the document, what does that mean? How does he convince Central Kenya that is at the center of his 22 campaigns that I opposed what you wanted, but now make me president? That is his problem. His problem is not signatures or consensus. It's the hold that he has on Central Kenya.
Really?
And Mushendu here can, let me tell you, it's not only the DP or people around the DP who are opposed to BBI. Martha Karua is opposed to BBI. Kivuta Kibwana is opposed to BBI. And many more other small and middle-level big voices. Even Musalia Mudavadi somehow is always in the middle. Even Kalonzo, opposed but not opposed, but consensus but not consensus. So they are there. Let me tell you, when you do the referendum and people vote, the other fear of William Ruto is not like Martha Karua. If you ask Martha Karua today, Raila Odinga, William Ruto, who do you vote for? Straight. He will tell you Raila Odinga. Mudavadi, Ruto, who do you vote for? He will tell you straight William Ruto. That is the passion. But she opposes it. Now, in the results of the referendum, the vote that comes out at the end of that referendum, is it William Ruto vote? Do you count Martha Karua inside and all those other voices? For him, it will be so difficult to know who is for me in the no. You understand? So, ukiona ni vitu mingi sana. So, he's not willing to risk. But if he was the only one man standing against it and would lead it, and he knows that everything that goes in that basket, he can own it. Believe you me, he would go for a no campaign. But it's because there are so many other dissenting voices, you will not be able to clearly apportion for him his vote in the opposition of the document.
Billy.
So, yes.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I might not be old enough to know this.
Yeah.
Gerald ataniingililia hapa tu sahi.
Yeah.
When Gerald, I'm old enough. Mi naweza kuwa mama ya mtu. When we were voting for the new constitution,
yes.
Was Ruto for the new constitution or against the Ruto and Uhuru? Were they for the constitution or against the constitution?
I will explain. In 2005, Ruto opposed the constitution. That's another thing, by the way. It's good you've raised it. In 2010, he opposed the constitution. My friend, in 2017, he attempts to oppose the constitution. What would go out? Why should we elect you on a constitution that you have always opposed? Ruto is a mjanja, sungura mjanja, very, very clever. He is not going to put himself in a position where he gives you political fodder.
Exactly.
Believe you, yes.
Exactly. The same way he may not confuse himself when taking unnecessary roles like his boss. I am not endorsing Ruto here, but I'm just saying, as a politician, as you have
He's very clever.
If at all your knowledge was true, which I believe it's not, then it would mean, yes, it would mean that William Ruto is a very calculative politician.
Very.
He does not do the minus mathematics.
Actually, let me tell you what has been going on.
No.
I've actually branded,
Yes.
there are people around him, I've branded that Ruto looks like he has a subcommittee of Tanga, and this subcommittee is a no mistakes committee within it. So these people, their problem is looking at where is he going to make a mistake, and they would pause. Ruto has a no mistakes committee.
That then presents a very calculative politician who can do a very good leadership analysis. If you have a committee that is able to calculate where you are possibility, there is a possibility of making a mistake.
Who
has refused.
And they tell you not to
I
make
am
it.
the one who is
then
saying.
listen.
Yeah.
Then it is approved that he is a very good politician.
Yes, I'm not giving you. I'm not giving Lucia.
It is approved that he's a politician who can learn government. Now,
So is a person who says he does not support it.
as for the
So is a
sweeteners,
person who says.
as for the sweeteners
Order.
you are talking about for Central Kenya,
Yes.
there can never be any sweetener for Central Kenya in BBI. Why? Central Kenya, 66% of Central Kenya, they make their living in agriculture. What is there in BBI for the agricultural
You want me
people?
to tell you?
Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Okuyu and Rand,
Yes.
they are like blood sisters or blood brothers.
Yes.
If you don't address the issues of Rand in BBI, which sweeteners are you talking about? The only sweetener you are talking about, it is apparently you are giving Central Kenya 17 nominated positions because those are not elected.
No, they're elected.
No, they are not.
no,
They are not.
Mushendu,
Let me tell you,
read
this document you people are propagating.
You can give him. You can give it to Mishingu to open where it is.
Yes, this
unless he can help
document that
us
you
because
are
the document is here.
propagating, is it not talking about a party producing a party list of both a male and a female?
It is.
It is talking about
Yes.
the please underline the word party
Yes.
list.
Yes.
When you
Mixed
talk
proportional
about party list,
representation,
where does Wajiko come in parties? Parties are private properties in this country. So when you are telling us, as long as that MP is not elected on the ballot by Wajiko, there is no way
But
you
that
can.
MP, his vote or her vote counts.
No, Wajiko does not care how many votes the president will have in parliament to drive his agenda. Wajiko cares what is it that MP is bringing home. And you and I know be talk. Money is not allocated to individuals. In the budget making process, you do not allocate money to individuals. You allocate money either to counties or to constituencies or to ministries program. So when you are telling me that Loiro, for instance, Loiro has over 500,000 people, Loiro constituency alone, it is supposed to receive 2 members of parliament if this BBI was something you were supposed to go with. What happens when you tell me that 2 members of parliament nominated by a party, because it is just nomination that has been decorated in this document. It is still nomination because it is not Wajiko who is electing those 2 people. Then here is Bitok, who is a bona fide elected member of parliament in Loiro. Muchendu and Lucia are nominated. And here you are telling me that Muchendu and Lucia will be given resources to take to the same Loiro constituencies. Why do you people take us to be fools? If Loiro constituency has enough people to be subdivided into 3 constituencies, do it. But you know why you cannot do it? Because the constitutional timelines bars you from making new constituencies.
No problem.
But still, because you want to have more people who are going to dance to the tune of the government of the day in parliament, you are trying to come up with a shortcut to be able to do that. So, I want you to look at this document and tell me authoritatively what are those sweeteners for the people of the mountain that you now claim that it is the dilemma where the deputy president is finding himself is.
All right, give him the document. He'll show you.
Here. And I'm officially giving you the sweeteners for the
Mushendu, you said you are not endorsing the deputy president. Thank you for the endorsement.
Yes.
Now let me tell you. You see,
actually,
I'm going to explain something. Please,
let me show you.
I am simply paraphrasing what you have submitted in this.
All right, let me show you speak.
Mushendu, I've even forgotten. Anyway, it's a lie. Now, I want us to audit.
Mishungu, you have the document with you.
No, leave it.
Okay.
I've already read it.
No, I want you to show me the.
No, don't worry.
He will show you after the show.
No, it is not going to be of help.
All right, Mishungu.
No. I can tell you because I've read it. I want us to take examples. Let us go to the judiciary. If you have a problem at the magistrate court, where do you seek redress? High Court. If you have a problem there, where do you seek redress? Appeal Court. If you have a problem there, where do you seek redress? Supreme Court. Let us go to the legislature.
If you have a local problem that you need to legislate on, where do you go? County Assembly. If it is a national problem, where do you go? National Assembly. If it is a county problem or mixed or wherever, you go to the Senate. How many levels are those? 3. How many levels in the judiciary? 4. Let us go to the executive. We are running at the whims of one person. Today, you can talk about there is a deputy president. But what does a deputy president do? It's just elected with the president and is a principal assistant to the president. Here is a case in point where you've been given the opportunity to have at least 5 angles within the executive, where if a policy document comes or people are in, you have people who have real power to be able to make decisions in a varied manner, not at the whims of only one person. If you ask me today, I will vote for BBI as it is today. But if you ask me that in the future, we will still need to amend it to make sure that the Prime Minister, and probably it's good to test it as it is today, and in 10 years we can amend it. It's good to have a Prime Minister who can only be sacked by Parliament on recommendation by the President. I would have proposed that. It is not there, but I accept it as it is. It's good to have a Prime Minister who would propose cabinet, because if he's coordinating government affairs, please allow the gentleman to propose his team as well. It will be a negotiated team with the president. No, we can't take Lucia ni hivi. No, we can't take so and so. Maybe look around for another person. You will have a cabinet that can be proposed by the deputy president, by the prime minister, for the president to appoint, so that there's a collegiate way in which decisions can be made and policy can be driven. If you ask me, I would want a prime minister who is substantive head of government. We are not there, but I still support the document as it is. So don't tell me
so that we can amend again.
We should all the time when we feel we should amend it. No, wait a minute.
Let MIJUNGU
finish. Just wait. No, now we have talked about the judiciary with many levels, the legislature with many levels, in the executive 1 level. You are telling me that in decision making at the executive, where we have all the problems with health, with transport, with everything that it says, we only need 1 person to make decisions. People have accused Uhuru Kenyatta of running the government like his own private property. People have done it repeatedly, like running it like a family business. For the first time, we are offered an opportunity to have decision making that is collegiate, more people within there with exercising real power making decisions. We are rejecting it. More of the times we said that we need a president who can work with goodwill. Boniface Mwangi said it here. We only lack goodwill. Why are we looking for goodwill when we can make a law to force the person who is there, he likes it or not, to do whatever we want? More like we say, we need money, more money to the counties. We have an opportunity to put it in law. We are saying now it is not. We are talking about people that are being given positions that are not adding any iota, anything to do with more burden on the taxpayers. They are just positions. What has been reassigned within the positions is responsibility. What is wrong with us? We support it today, we reject it tomorrow, based on our political convenience means. And I will tell you, Muchendu, the only reason why BBI is unpopular is because for the last 2.5 years, Kenyans have been conditioned to think that handshake is bad, it's doing nonsense. Believe you me, that is why it is unpopular. Believe you me, the other side of the handshake has never been on a campaign trail to say how good the document is. Let us have an opportunity as to whether it is contested or non-contested to have a discussion. If you hear me, there is nothing I have said that by the way, even before I continue, you are telling us, you are saying that this thing is wasting money. Let us stop construction of the roads on Mombasa Road. Let us stop construction of that highway, because let us take that money and do COVID first. Let us, no. Let us stop education. Let us stop education. Let's not pay teachers. Ngoja kidogo.
Ngoja MIJUNGU. You'll rejoin the MIJUNGU.
Wewe utapata time yako. Let us stop construction of the road. Let's use all that money to fight COVID. Let us stop education. Let's use all that money to fight COVID. Well, there's no reason of funding security, by the way. Let us stop security issues. Let's use that money to fund COVID. Government, you cannot postpone one part of government or one essential thing because you have coronavirus. Everything has to move in parallel and in sync. So this whole idea that let us use this money. By the way, there are so many things that we can stop in government and reallocate that money
To corona.
So that is not an issue, and it should not be debatable as to whether we should spend some money doing a referendum. And I will tell you as my last word, seek a perfect or a more perfect political system and everything shall fall in place. Maybe the last thing I would say, your friend, the deputy president, when he was in Bomas, he talks about inclusion. And he said, how will it solve the inclusion when in the opposition you only have one person? What do you do with the rest? You remember that line? When he was in London, at Chatham House, that is what he proposed. Exact thing that is now rubbishing is what he proposed when he was in London. And let me ask you something. People, the way he explained it, let's say today that the whole Jubilee takes over all those positions that BBI proposes. He said the opposition has only one slot for one person. But he's not telling you that when you go for an election, when you have those positions, you cannot go there. Now, say, Mimi deputy president, I'm a Kalenjin. The deputy president is a Kikuyu. The deputy prime minister is a Kalenjin. You cannot. It will be inclusive from the time of election. Because when you go there, it will be the president is probably a Kikuyu, the deputy is probably a Luo. Because usipojipanga, when it is spread, would anybody vote for you? They would say, kama huyu sasa huyu ana campaign, na mpangilio yake ni kwake peke yake. How is it possible that when we give him, this person will have diversity in this? So diversity will be judged when you are going for election. So,
I can see the way Lucia is looking at you.
Oppose, but with merit. BBI is not bad. The problem is somebody behaves like it was an exclusionist affair. The president told us the other day, the same person who is opposing proposed members to that committee. People didn't even know about it.
Why would you think that?
Lucia.
The
road will come back for a region.
It is important to tell him president does not hold monopoly of truth.
All right,
He's
Lucia.
Okay. I've been absorbing this gentleman's thoughts. So, Billy, if I'm getting you right, we only need laws put in place.
Yeah.
Don't we already have laws?
Yes, we do.
Aren't those laws ignored? We actually have a government that brazenly disobeys the rule of law. Brazenly.
True.
All the time.
True.
Every day.
Yeah.
Now, here's my problem with the BBI. I'm not saying the BBI is a bad document.
Yeah.
There are a lot of good things in the BBI document. Now, this is what I'm saying. Those a lot of good things in the BBI document did not originate from the BBI process.
Yes.
All those things that are in the BBI document have either in one way or another been provided for in the Constitution or in the numerous commission reports that we have, starting all the way from the Akiwumi report, Kriegler, Waki, Ndungu, all these things are there. Those reports have never even been looked at in a manner likely to suggest that they are willing to implement some of the things in those reports. One. Yes. Two, we have a government that disobeys the rule of law. No matter what, I actually think in this country we have some of the best laws in this country, in the entire continent of Africa. I think we have some of the best laws. They are never observed. Never. Literally, they only observe that which favors them. If it doesn't favor them, they will not observe it. Case in point, Chapter 6 of the Constitution, if they were to implement Chapter 6 of the Constitution, it means they will have to take themselves to jail. They can never, ever. So, Billy, no matter what laws we write down, no matter what nini we do, as long as we still have this caliber of rotten people in leadership, it's never going to take us anywhere. I will tell you the one condition on which I will support the BBI. If they put in the provision that anyone who has been in power before 2022 or is currently in power shall not run for any public
in contravention
office
of human rights
ever again, then I will agree with that. No, we are not contravening human rights. These are racketeers that we have to do away with. They are not leaders. They are racketeers and they are criminals sitting in government. Also, the problem with the BBI is not the document itself. The problem with the BBI is that we as Kenyans cannot trust our leaders to do anything that they say they will do, especially if they say it is good for Wanjiku, because we know they will never do anything that is good for Wanjiku. And I can give you examples. And the fact that we are not at par with South Korea right now, we are not at par with Singapore, we are not at par with Taiwan, should tell you that the leaders we have, whom we have recycled for the past 30 years, will never ever implement anything that is supposed to progress this country to a level where we get to be at par with South Korea and China and Taiwan and Singapore and all these other big economies. We will never get to the G20 economies if we are still worshipping Raila, if we still think Uhuru is the solution, if we still think the hustler narrative via Wilbaronomics is what is going to save us, if we still think Jirongo is a hope for leadership in this country, we are still looking up to Mudavadi and Kalonzo Musyoka. We still want to recycle Charity Ngilu and Martha Karua. What have they progressively done for this country in order for us to even sit down and start having this conversation and talk about human rights? No, they have taken away their right to humanity the minute they have subjected us to all this suffering that we are going through as a people. End of rant.
Right. Let me read the comments. Nisome comments alafu tukirudi tunachukua simu tukifanya rejoinder kidogo. Naona kuna hapo Arono yanasema wa Queen Lucia will know Malenga ni mboga pia. Anyway, another registration drive coming next month. Everyone should register please. That's on Duma number. Abbas Njuguna anasema handshake is just a ceasefire and in fact holding one of the inventors or hostage. That unless he does ABCD, others are ready to uproot rails this round the standard railway gauge SGR. Charity Kitu as a following Clenis Kosa Sama Gerald, we are checked in from Bombay this time. Sana Clenis, David Kamwa Sama Ruto engaged neutral gear to BBI. Replying to Bida Sama Elian Kenny Kondani, Wasuka Kabute anasema following. Njogi Kamau anasema Central Kenya votes for which document? Kindly talk for yourself, stop lying. That is the Mishungu. Sama Central Kenya votes for which document? Kindly talk for yourself, stop lying. David Kamau anasema Billy Mijungu, which Central Kenya are you talking about? Please, you can fool anyone but not everyone. Please. If Kwechu anasema Ruto did not oppose the constitution, he said to rekebisha alafu tupitisha. Simple. Washuka Buda anasema Kirinyaga 020 is locked. Abbas Njuguna anasema Ruto is not opposing the constitution but he has issues with some sections. Mijungu take note. Replying to General anasema inviting some day, all right? Kathleen Kate anasema I don't agree with Billy Mishungu on Central Kenya. We will not support BBI nonsense and our love for Ruto is unconditional. Abbas Njuguna anasema the vote counts on political parties, politicians' interest not Wanjiku's. Kathleen Kate anasema can't continue to watch this show today. My temperatures are rising. Mishungu. Ndako watu pandisha pressure bana ipasuka. Washuka wote sema Lucia is on point. David Kamau anasema why amend it after 10 years when you have time to correct it now? That's the constitution. Rebecca Amonga anasema Mishungu, how dare you say that we should amend the document anytime we are dissatisfied with it? It's not as cheap as a tissue paper for us to amend it anyhow. Taxpayers' money doesn't grow on trees. Clenis Kosa anasema Mijungu, we both know there is nothing that will come. They have tackled Mishungu big time. Clenis Kosa anasema Mishungu, we both know there is nothing that will come out from too much elective positions. Those positions will not help. What responsibility will come from that? This is Kenya. Please don't lie to tacklers at 9 a.m. in the morning. Maybe you have tried at 9 p.m. John Mburugu anasema this BBI cannot help Wanjiku. Naona Rona yana ameambia Kathleen please call in live and your concerns. Clenis anasema we are constitutionally unstable country. Kimtai anasema this guy Mishungu is living in his own Kenya. He's taking too much trying to explain nothing. He has no point at all. David Kamau ameweka ambulance na damu hapo sijini nini. Maria Skipke anasema we don't need more money to counties. We need more functions to be devolved to counties. The reason is money follows functions, not functions follows money. Right. Alfred Musama Mishungu stop campaigning for BBI period. That is Alfred Mutua. Henry Jaraga sama this BBI ni ujinga ikuje tuiangushe. John W. Konasema, this guy thinks that BBI nonsense is like the air we breathe. We have a working constitution, period. Kimtavi anasema, read and replay the audio. What he said in London. Mijungu sisi si wajinga. Wacha kutudanganya. Podincha anasema, Mijungu who has refused you to be mujanja. Jackie anasema, boss don't give some bad examples using Lucia. The Lucia ni hivi. Yeah, that's our official ekla. For all the eklas like us, they were jikus. David Kawasama, Bill is talking as if we don't have a constitution. Jules Julia Favor, some BBI is a scam. Show us those witness. Wacha uongo bwana. Clinton Ngama sema, someone please help me feed my kids. Please, I've gone without food for yesterday. Now, I've seen these messages for a very long time. I've seen this for a long time. Please, wachana na hiyo maneno. Kuri anasema nakubai ya peni ya 100. Drop that one. Anasema ananiwa kalamu. Sijui. John W. Karioka anasema, Lucia Ayela, these commissions have never never been public commission reports. That is the reports. Clenis Kosema, when the health sector was devolved to the county government, where did it lead us? Devolution hasn't worked as much as when it comes to ministerial functions. Look at the doctor strike happening right now. In fact, BBI is a scam. It does not cover land and medical issues apart from creating an independent commission under chapter 11 of the constitution. If we were to change the constitution, they should have measured on development rather than adding positions. Mushai Wangasha anasema Lucia kunywa maji kwanza. Kama hasira imekuwa mingi. Samsung kile anasema wao sisemi kitu, Lucia amesema yote. John W. Korea anasema ni moto. David Muturi anasema nasijasikia issues about those who work or live abroad. By the way, the diasporans have been left out of it by BBI. DJ Mick Ruiz Sultan anasema tuko pamoja. Anik Barma anasema true, you have been cycling our leaders all through, and all this suffering is because of them. David Sirma anasema Lucia, well done. Truthful. Farid Faraji anasema I've let poleni. Farid Faraji, thank you so much for joining in. Huyu daktari alituambia mambo ya the things that doctors are going through the other day. It was really sad. We expect to have your call again. Rihanna anasema wow, a real Queen Chief Ekla, we are behind you. These are the real wish of the Wanjikus. Give that grace spirit Lucia ukweli. Tupo. Farid Faraji anasema poleni, send more functions to the counties and money will follow. That is saying functions and money. Wafuatane. Oliver R. Tampo anasema Lucia on point. Thank you so much. Amos Koech, tell Mijungu to stop bringing tribalism here. Doesn't this country belong to Kikuyu only? Ujinga pelekea hiyo sitamaliza. Abdullah Hussein Daira anasema what about hata actually amesema bibi. Abdullah Hussein Daira anasema what about if runners up tie, who will be the opposition leader? Anasema wakishikana, I think there should be a re-election if there's a tie-up. Pauline Jerome Mijungu, maybe you should be a mujanja for Raila. Yeah, just you don't have to apologize. There will be no cut after this. All right, guys, you can call in bunga la mwenyeji iko wazi. You can call in bunga la mwenyeji iko wazi. Nambari ni 0779 800 0779 800 0779 800 Naweza piga simu na kuchangia pia. Nambari ni 0779 800 All right.
Tukingoja simu, you know there is a comparison Billy made here and he said that we should stop development projects so that we can focus on COVID. But Billy, these are essential social and economic rights that are catered for in the constitution. The BBI report is not catered for in the constitution. We cannot even defend this BBI report correctly because the process of getting the report itself was flawed the beginning.
In fact, the financing of BBI should be an audit query.
Yeah, and actually they need to make that public.
Can I tell you, Uhuru thought he was very clever. He stayed 1 year without an auditor general. That is time they launched BBI without an auditor general to ask questions. Why are you spending this money on BBI? Hold your horses. He recently appointed the auditor general the other day. And of course, you know now it is also results. I also have a problem with this BBI now that I have mentioned the auditor general. Recently, we had an issue with the Senate.
Hello, good morning.
Hold on.
Good morning, Zara.
Good morning to you. Hey, yes, Mashak.
How are you? And say hi to Billy and Mushendu.
Umesalimika.
Meshak, leo ujiski kunisalimia.
Lucia.
Hi.
We will have coffee, don't worry.
Okay.
Let me bring two issues here.
Yes, sir.
You know, if you ask me, the DP is having a certain following that which is very significant. And at this point in time, I think he's confusing them, and I can see people like Mushendu are already confused.
Yeah, very confused, by the way.
Yeah, they are very confused because on one hand, the document is very bad. And on another hand, they can't be in a campaign of no. So where will they be? They are basically getting confused. Because
they are saying they're in the consensus.
No, there is nothing like consensus. Are we going to have election in 2022 or not? Is Ruto going to... let me ask you. Is Ruto going to discuss with other presidential candidates and say, you know, we need a consensus, we need a win-win? Is Ruto the first person to tell us about win-win when he took all Kalenjin to the ministries and left all other tribes? This win-win thing is a fallacy. Let us just say they are confused.
Yes.
Either they go to say no to the document or they endorse the document. But here they are in a situation where the document is very bad and they also don't want to say no. But the last point is, he tried this earlier to have a contention with his boss in matters parliament. And it was shown that he doesn't have those numbers. Then now it is on popular vote. If his supporters realize that he can go to a referendum and say no, he's going to get around 2.5 or 3 million votes to say no. The government will always win because he knows how government usually wins. Yeah? And then his supporters, the common man, will think we are not going to win anything in 2022 because our vote is around 2.5 million or 3 million. So he fears going into this contest because it will expose him on his voters who he has already told that Hustler's nation is unstoppable. So this confusion of let us negotiate, I mean, there is nothing like non-contested referendum. Referendum is referendum. There's somebody must say yes, another person must say no. So this whole narrative of non-contested, I mean, Ruto is not one person who can tell us he now loves this country that he doesn't want any contestation. He has always loved contestation. I mean, he is not new. So I don't know why people like Mushendu think this narrative will work out. Let's go to referendum. If he wins, well and good.
Well and good.
If he doesn't win, well and good.
Meshach, so it's a fallacy to think the referendum can have a win-win, but it's not a fallacy to think that the presidential election can have a win-win. Is that what you're saying? Because I'm not understanding. If we are talking about win-win when it comes to presidential election and we want to have a win-win situation, why is it so hard to have a win-win situation in a referendum? Shouldn't we start practicing what we are preaching?
Who has talked about a win-win in presidential?
Win-win in election?
Isn't that what you're saying? We need an official office for the opposition leader, whoever loses, so that we avoid the winner takes it all, so that there is no loser per se. Everyone is winning a bit of something. Isn't that how the BBI has been marketed?
Lucia, listen to me. Nobody has said we are going to have two presidents after election. At least you're also repeating the word opposition leader, not two presidents.
But you're marketing it as a win-win situation.
Hello, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Gerard.
How are you?
I'm good. My name is Martin.
Yes, Martin.
Napenda conversation vile inaendelea.
Asante sana, daddy.
Sasa vile nilikuwa nasema, unajua watu wakisikia maneno ya non-contested referendum, they don't understand. Non-contested referendum is a situation whereby DP anasema tuende hapo, kama mtu hataki prime minister anasema no. Kama mtu anataka 35% to the counties anasema no. Kama mtu anataka 4 years tax break or help loan anasema yes. That is what it's not supposed to be a situation whereby it's either you vote yes or vote no.
You want to vote on issues.
Yeah, a vote on issues.
So what we have said yes, hiyo inapita.
Yeah.
Okay.
But now you see, like what Raila is saying, that He wants it to be, it's either you are yes or no. And I remember when they said that mtakunywa kitu kama chloroquine, the way Kibicho said. That is what they are saying. It's either this or you're not getting anything. Yeah, if you go to European countries, when they vote on referendum, they vote based on issues. They don't vote based on a document.
In fact, my brother, in the last concluded U.S. election, seven states were, as they were voting for the leaders, they were also voting whether to legalize marijuana or not.
Yes.
So,
and you see, like,
yes, so I think for me that should be it. Let's vote issue by issue. See, it is either you have it or you don't have it. That is not what you call a referendum. That is con.
Yeah, so the thing is that they are posting this document to the people, and that we are telling them that, you know what, let's sit down, let's discuss. Okay, you want us to go with the document the way it is? Okay, let us go and vote based on issues. Okay? And that is one thing that they will never want, because they know if we go and vote based on that, people are going to reject the prime minister, people are going to reject the deputy prime ministers, but most definitely people are going to vote for the position of the opposition leader. Yeah. And so once they, because you know, these positions are just going to be given to kingpins of the tribes.
Okay.
You see, like they're going to have somebody coming from Kalenjin, they're going to give him the deputy president. They're going to have somebody from Kamba, they're going to give him the prime minister. They're going to have somebody from LUCIA, they're going to give him the deputy prime minister. So once they realize that this is not going to happen, they're going to deny us to have a consensus. Yeah. And one thing is that these people have to realize that I'm not a supporter of Ruto, but one thing is that there is no person who is clever politically in this country like that guy. These other people, they want to know where does he stand, because
he has no stand, my brother. He has no stand. You just said it. He has no stand.
My brother, that is the dilemma of the proponent of BBI. Their dilemma is that they cannot pin William Ruto on a certain stand.
Like an amoeba.
You are so much.
Let the caller finish. I've muted you guys. Let the caller finish.
Yeah, one thing is that these people have to realize that they know that this guy, you know, Ruto has been on a no side for some time. You can't deny that the fact. But now you can remember the 205 referendum. The guy was on the no, and now this time he's on the no, and this time he has the numbers. You have to be scared of such a person, you know. And one thing is that towards the 2022 general election, they want to understand, like, is this guy really as strong as the way people are saying he is?
They want to use the referendum to test him.
Yeah, they want this referendum to test him. That's all that this thing is all about. And they're going to use our taxpayers' money to gauge the strength of somebody towards a general election. That is the highest insanity I've ever seen in this country. This thing is not about Wanjiku. Yes, we have these things that are going to be on the favor of Wanjiku, but the rest of the things, they're just for their own selfish interest. So that's why I think, personally, for me, I think we should vote based on issues or vote no altogether. And expect the next government to deal with these things that are promising us they're going to give us with this referendum.
Okay. Thank you. That's very powerful. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for that. All right, guys, umesikia wananchi wanasema nini?
You know, he has.
And by the way, I want to ask a question on inclusivity. When talking about inclusivity in government, you have a lot of positions in government. There have been complaints all over. Even the other day when they were appointing the ambassadors, there have been complaints that they are being appointed from one ethnic background. What is stopping the president from exercising BBI, from balancing his government?
And you know, the law provides for the president on how he should be able to subdivide the government opportunities to the divergence in this country. There is nothing that stops Uhuru Kenyatta from appointing ambassadors or PS or ministers from the entire corner of this republic, as long as that person is a Kenyan. You see, let me tell you, you will not, even if we are trying to say that BBI we will come and solve that, it is about what LUCIA has said, personal goodwill. It is what will happen. And goodwill cannot be registered anywhere. Please note that. You can register as many roles as you want, Mijungu, but goodwill will never be registered. If you have a bad heart, if you have a tendency of disobeying, this government today, as I'm standing here, has disobeyed over 1,320 court orders since it came to power in 2013. Listen,
talk about
including the one.
We'll get there. Let him finish that.
Yes, including not bringing Miguna here is the latest one of the showdown that we have. This government has shown no goodwill in obeying rules that are already in place. If you have over 1,000 court orders that have not been obeyed, I can tell you of about 56 different awards that the court have awarded the people who have gone to seek justice in the courts, and they have awarded them against government. This government has failed and has shown no interest in actually compensating those people. What makes you think that when you register with BBI they will still obey? So the goodwill is not something you can actually register. It is the reason why Wajiko is given an opportunity every 5 years to elect a leader based on how you understand that that leader is going to execute the mandate based on goodwill. Now, the problem with Mijungu and company is that there is no way you may not like the union between Moses and Aaron, now Christ, Uhuru and Raila Odinga. There is no way we think that that union is based on a fallacy. And you also want to tell us that the product of that union can be credible enough for us to support. And we are not talking about the deputy president here. We are talking about the head of state who came to my village and told us to send home the Kimodo Kigorok. Do we have the mental report to know that he was recovered? You know. This is the thing. Do we have a report?
We have a report that this man has stopped taking bangi.
You know.
Muchendu, you cannot take all the time. We are also here.
No, before you get into it, let me just mention something. You've said that we need to expand the executive so that it's not tied to the whims of one person. But then in our expanding the executive, I ran to all that. Is it the president who appoints the prime minister?
Yes.
And he appoints the deputies to the prime minister.
Yes.
So isn't that still
and you
bowing down to the whims of one person?
Very, very good.
And he can fire the prime minister.
All right, let's give it to Mijungu now. All right, Mijungu.
You know,
take it off.
I have a lot of opposition here. Anyway, Lucia.
No, I want you to educate me on this one.
Inclusivity, I've noted them.
But I'm going to face you.
Ruto, let us talk about goodwill and Ruto in one sentence. I want us to also talk about inclusivity and Ruto in one sentence. Then, let us talk about the handshake as it is. Ruto and goodwill. We have all of a sudden forgot that the engine of the Jubilee government is William Ruto. That the appointments that he made himself from his own backyard, nowhere else, and when he had a chance to give us anybody from anywhere else, was a person whose only qualification was a birth certificate. Any extra person he gave us, qualification yake ilikuwa birth certificate kutoka Western. But the rest of the ministers were from his own backyard, for his own, with his own thoughts. How inclusive was that? Apparently, that is the person leading an attempt, whether openly or not openly, against a document that is looking at having a country that is inclusive, and we are all buying it. That's why I talk about Sungura Mjanja. Number 2, you want to tell me that 5 positions is worse as compared to only 1 or 2. That 2 is better than 5 when it comes to decision making. That when William Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta sat down to make decisions on how to appoint people because of goodwill, the 2 of them lacked goodwill. But you are now telling me that 5 people, look at the extent to which they had no goodwill, the 2 of them. Now let us look at the extent to which 5 people from different areas will lack goodwill. it is better I have 5 than 2. That is my simple argument. As to whether you like the position or not, is that position adding more financial burden in the country? No. When you look at CSS, at least half of them being appointed from parliament, for good reasons that we have tested for the last 8 years, we actually needed an executive voice to be questioned and put to account in parliament. You are telling me that all those people who will come from parliament will be paid additionally? No. They will just earn their salaries where they are today. You are telling me that the reduction of CASs is not goodwill for this country. You are telling me that we have to depend on the goodwill of a person who is sitting as president or deputy president to be able to give us direction in the country, but not 5 people. I think there could be more goodwill with 5 as opposed to goodwill
Mushendu,
with
just
2.
a minute.
All right, let us kill you kwanza. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Gerard.
Yes, how are you?
Very well.
Nazungumza na nani?
Gawa na Lucia na ndugu yangu hapo Mijungu. This is Julius.
Yes.
Oh, Julius. Hi, Julius.
I've been unwell. That's why siongei sana. Hata ukisikia na kohoa ipo katikati msisuke.
Pole sana.
Now, Gerard.
Pole. Na ungesema unajua mimi ni bishop ningekuleta anointing oil.
I'm doing very well. Niko na nguvu kama naweza piga simu.
I declare healing upon you.
I wonder where he lives.
You will ask him.
I wonder where this guy lives. Listening to Mijungu is the same way I was listening to Alex Marete. The young guy who just decided to bash a deputy president in front of the country. But that said and done, we are missing the point with BBI when we start bringing Ruto, Raila, and Uhuru in this discussion. I wish we would have a conversation minus the 3 in the picture. Because when you listen to Mijungu, definitely you can tell which side he stands.
Of course.
You understand?
Yeah.
So if we can have a conversation, I'm a Ruto supporter. You might be a Raila supporter. The other guy may be saying, oh, Uhuru or whatever. If we can have a conversation, especially as young people, it's a pity. It's a pity for us young people. If we can have this conversation without these 3 public figures in our minds, we would be having a sober conversation. Now, Mijungu tells us that having positions in the executive does not increase the burden to Mwananchi. What is that, honestly? That's a lie.
But there are members of parliament that have been proposed to be added.
Where is Mijungu? Mijungu, relax.
I'm relaxed.
Please wait. If you say we have a prime minister, deputy prime minister,
from parliament,
that their salary is nothing to have a discussion about.
Yeah.
Mijungu, please relax.
I'm listening.
Their salaries is nothing to have a discussion about. But what we should look at is the office. What comes with the office of a prime minister, a deputy prime minister, whatever, the opposition leader. The offices is what we are discussing here because the former Prime Minister Raila said that their salaries, when he was the Prime Minister, he used to earn a salary of an MP. You understand? But the office of the Prime Minister comes with a bag. It's a whole thing. Talk about the motorcade. Talk about the budget to maintain that office. Let's not get confused here with very small things that we are giving to Kenya. The other thing I want to say is about the help for us young people. Let's say, for example, myself and many others, tulifika class 8. Wengine walidrop here Form 2. Those who tried, they got to Form 4. When you tell them about help, what are you telling them? They have no idea what help is. Secondly, the tax holiday, unless you have a job you're doing. When you tell me about not paying a tax, what are you telling me about? Mtu kama mimi labda mimi ni dereva ya taxi. Nabeba 200, 300 naenda nyumbani nanunulia watu wangu unga. When you tell me about tax holiday, what are you telling me? It does not make sense. The other thing,
We don't need a prime minister. We can have the deputy president in parliament, and he is a leader of government business, and he has a substantive job. That will not be adding anything to Mwananchi Wanjiku to have a burden to Wanjiku. The other thing, tell us about 35% coming to the counties. Where is this money? Why is it 35%? Right now, 15% that goes to the county. As we speak right now, county suppliers have not been paid.
I've also not been paid myself. My salary has not been paid.
Exactly. And you're here telling us that we are going to be given 35%. Eh? I mean, what are you telling us?
Sada Julius, what are the skill mwingine pia? Hello. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Gerard.
Na tafadhali zima nini yako broadcast nyuma eh?
Okay, hiyo ni DJ Mike.
Have a DJ.
Salamia Lucio, Michungu na
Tumesalamia sana.
Sema haraka masaa imeenda.
Wacha niulize tu Michungu, kwa anasema kuongeza kwa viti ya prime minister na secretary na
Maita ya Mchungu. Mmemaliza yeye kabisa.
So anasema ikiongeza sio kuongeza bado ni kwa wananchi. Nauliza tuko sahi na ofisi ya naibu wa rais. Na tuna ofisi ya naibu wa rais kuna na
Hello. Baba, pole. Na utafutange Adam. Sawa. Tumefunga bunge tafadhali. Bunge is closed. Tutachukua tena simu kesho. Wacha tuangalie zile tumeweza kuangalia. We're ready 8 minutes past time. So wacha tupate rejoin us haraka tukifunga kazi.
You know, be talk, eh?
I think I had interrupted Mishungu. Please let me take it back to Mishungu briefly.
I think I was the one on the floor.
You had been
in case
interrupted.
you have amnesia.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm growing old as well.
I was saying, number one, Mijungu has alluded to the fact that the deputy president brought people from his community. There is no way you can have the president, the Republic of Kenya, abdicate from his duty as provided for in Article 152 of the Constitution 2. It says the president shall nominate and with approval of National Assembly appoint cabinet secretaries. William Ruto can only wish, but the ultimate power to nominate is that of the president. If we ended up with a cabinet that has a face of one community, that cannot be the responsibility of the deputy president, because the power to appoint and nominate is vested on the president in Article 152(2) of our constitution. So, Mijungu, you are trying to tell me that indeed the president of Kenya, who is yeye ni mweupe kama pamba, nominated a cabinet with one face of the republic, abdicating his responsibility in Article 152 of the Constitution. That is in essence what you are telling me. Then he is a very poor head of state. He doesn't understand the powers. That is one. Number two, even if you expand the executive as Mijungu is trying to tell us here, there is only one thing. The president has the power to appoint and to do what? The power to appoint and fire.
Appoint and disappoint.
Yes, whichever. Appoint and disappoint, if that is it. So therefore, if today I am the president and I nominate Bitok Gerard as the prime minister, the only thing I need to be reminding Gerard as the president is, even as he does what he does in parliament, is, my friend, remember, this BBI has given me the authority to fire you at will. So Gerard simply becomes a puppet, and the president is the one controlling the... I don't know whether when you are growing up, Gerard, I know Lucia did not find the puppet entertainment. Age could not allow him to find that part of entertainment. You remember in schools, we would have those guys bring puppets in schools. That is exactly what BBI is proposing. He's proposing a prime minister who is a puppet to the president. Because as long as I hold the authority to fire you, I will control you. It doesn't matter how many prime ministers you make. It doesn't matter how many deputy presidents you make. As long as I, as the president, holds the authority to fire you, You will dance to my tune anywhere. In fact, you jump. I tell you to jump, you will be asking how high.
Yeah, Mijungu, on what Mushendu has said, there was I can't remember who said this, but I remember it was Reverend Njoya who shared it on Twitter, and it said, Jesus did not allow people he helped to become his disciples. And when you look at it clearly, Jesus did not help his disciples. He just called them, picked them and called them to do whatever it is he wanted them to do. And the reason why Jesus did not allow the people he helped to become his disciples is because indebtedness is the highest form of sycophancy. And let me tell you this, I'm very loud and opinionated and everything, but ukinipatia hapa 1,000 unajua kesho nitashindwa kukuchamba, I'll go like, but nilikuwa na njaa jana na Mijungu akanipea tenga, you know. So hata kama nakupasha, nitakupasha, sitakupasha. You know, there is a difference. So when we say that, I agree, 5 heads are better than 1, they're better than 2. But then, where are these heads coming from? Because if I become president tomorrow under the BBI and I have to elect a prime minister and the deputies to that prime minister, what prevents me from just picking Gerald and Doug and Steve and Mushendu and the people who are around me? And you know, that does not also mean that it's going to be inclusive, because then what happens if I decide to pick people from my community because I feel like these are the people I can trust? I cannot trust Mushendu, he's Okuyu. I cannot trust Mijungu, yeye ni wa huko, anatoka huko kwa watu wa Raila, watu hawezi kuwa, you know, it's not an issue of I don't think the BBI is an issue of legislation. I don't think kuna mahali kuna upungufu kwa sheria. Sidhani kuna mahali kuna upungufu yenye ati ina require the BBI kwa constitution. I really do not think so. The change that we want, that we are clamoring for, has to come from within. We have to start behaving like what we are preaching. The president stood and said, you have to observe COVID-19 measures, you know, and even us as leaders have to observe COVID-19 measures. And if you see us not observing COVID-19 measures, call us out on our bullshit. And then the next day he went and called 100,000 people to come and sit together with him with no masks and social distancing. So you see, it's innate. It's not something that we can put down on paper and then say that we want to implement this. Because one, where is that will to implement? These are very good proposals in here. They're very good, some of them. But then where is the will to implement? Because now we know it's not going to be implemented. And as a young person, I'll tell you this. There is YAGPO for young people. There is the Women Enterprise Development Fund. There's the Youth Enterprise Development Fund. And yet, we still have over 3 million young people not involved in any economic gainful activity. This begs the question, why? Because implementation is almost zero. There is no monitoring and evaluation to improve on that which is not even being implemented in the first place. So if we sat down and we said, let's look at the TJRC Commission report. This is what it recommends. This is what can happen. And this is what we have tried to do. This is what we have been unable to do. And therefore the BBI report comes to fill that gap. Let's bring it closer, the big 4 agenda. If the president was to stand and say, my agenda was health, education, manufacturing, and what else? I can't remember the 4th one. And says, I have implemented ABC and infrastructure, yeah? He said, I have implemented ABCD. I was aiming for 24,000 kilometers of road. I've only been able to do 10,000 because of A, B, and C. And this is where the BBI is coming to supplement to those challenges that we have had in implementation. I would have no problem with that. But then when people who have been doing nothing want to come and continue doing nothing in the name of trying to do something when there is nothing to be done at all, does not make sense.
All right. Last round of tackle of the day. Tackle of Mijungu, your tackles of the day. Your tackle of the day.
I have heard Lucia, I've heard Mushendu, and I have heard the callers. This is what I can say. When it comes to 35%, if you prefer 15%, so be it. vote for 15%. So vote no, retain the 15% and wait for goodwill. That is it. Okay. If you don't prefer a negotiated cabinet amongst 5 people from different tribes, from different diversities that even the Constitution acknowledges that we are diverse and calls for that diversification, where we needed goodwill for the last 8 years and it has not worked. At least we've moved from 2 to 5 in terms of diversity. So be it. Vote for 2 by rejecting no and leave the 5 and let us move on. When it comes to positions that are being added or not being added, it is our choice. Look at the positions, look at the Prime Minister as Raila or Uhuru, look at the President as Uhuru or Mudavadi. Make sure those positions, as you look at them, figure out that it's probably Kalonzo, Raila or anybody else occupying. If you think those people are going to live for the next 50 years to still occupy positions, please reject BBI and vote no. That is all I can say. If the embodiment of the opposition of the BBI is William Ruto, and he has made better decisions in the last years that have resulted into inclusivity, that it has resulted into credibility in running of government affairs, that has resulted into management of COVID well, because COVID could have been managed well or better if we had better health systems even before, not today. If you think his decisions within government, as it is up to today, have been good enough for the country, please hoist him up as the embodiment of the opposition of BBI and vote no. That is where I rest it. If you think there is no inclusivity, there's no need of taking money to the grassroots by law. If you think your MCA does not deserve 5% to help manage every little person who walks into the next house of the MCA to ask for bursaries, to ask for funeral, whatever, to ask for all those things, because I can tell you, if you think the 5% is not necessary for the MCA, please vote no. Don't bother and let us leave it to goodwill. And if you think if you think in your mind you are angelic enough to know that the person who is going to be in government, who is going to be president, be it Raila Odinga, be it William Ruto, if you think they're angelic enough, my friends, to be able to implement the constitution without unnecessary burgeoning or robust reinforcement of the current laws through BBI, if you think goodwill will work, and one day goodwill will work, we don't need to correct anything, please vote no. Because the referendum, in reality, it is coming. It is a choice we have to improve the document even by a little bit. I, from the onset, made my reservations about the office of the Prime Minister. I would have loved somebody with security of tenure. I would have loved somebody who proposes the cabinet or a team to the president. I would have loved somebody who would had more wherewithal. But if this is what we have today, and one day we could improve it after, because we are seemingly afraid of pushing things so far. I think we are the step-by-step kind of country. Let us have it as it is. That would be my conclusion. So, overall, if you think there is no benefit that BBI is accruing, that your only problem to vote no is the 3 positions of not as positions as they are, but positions meant to add responsibility, firepower, and more leverage into infusing more influence into government, please vote no. But if you think there is something additional, if you think it brings accountability back to parliament, if you think it brings accountability back to public glare, if you think a minister who is appointed from parliament comes from your village, and therefore, as a young person, or as you will be able to ask him from your village, these cabinet secretaries that we have, we don't even know where they live. We don't even know where they're elected. If you think a minister that will be elected from your village will be a person you can even talk to directly, vote yes. But if you think
how many villages can one minister come from?
there is no no. The fact that you can be able to listen to one villager means you can be able to listen to many more villagers, as opposed to what we have today, where a cabinet secretary, you don't even know who they are. In fact,
but their villagers know them.
No, their villagers know them, but they are not accountable to the villagers in terms of the vote. But if you think that's fair, so be it.
Your tackle of the day, Lucia. Very fast, Masane.
Okay, so let me even focus on what Billy has said so that I can respond to him and give my tackle of the day. The problem with this country is that we have top to bottom leadership. And that is the whole problem. All these things you're saying that we need are good. However, that change has to come from the bottom. It does not have to come from the top. And the BBI is coming from the top. And there is no way you're convincing me that those views at the top are what was collected at the bottom. True. Because if they were, we would not even be having this conversation in the first place. So that is my whole problem with the BBI report. I'm not saying our constitution is perfect. I'm not saying it has catered for everything. I'm not saying goodwill is the only thing that we need to depend on. But in order, Billy, for us to see the changes that you want us to see, that you think the BBI is going to bring, this is not the way to go. The BBI is not the way to go. Civic education from the grassroots is the way to go. Because when we have a woke population, then they can be able to hold their leaders to account. And if those leaders are not accountable, then further measures to remove them from office can be made. But right now, my people are suffering for lack of knowledge. So let us inform the masses, the BBI. Let us put it aside, because iyo ni mpango ya politicians. And they even tell us every day themselves, they tell us 80% of what is in the BBI is for them. And the BBI CA2, BBI is not for me, BBI is not for you, it is not for your children. You're imagining Kenya in the next 50 years because you're worried for your future generations. The BBI is not going to help them. And unless we sensitize and inform the masses, 50 years from now, our children will still be living in this shithole country that we are in right now. And I agree with you. Ruto is part of the mess in government. He shouldn't even dare to distance himself from it. If Uhuru Kenyatta has failed, so has William Samoei Ruto.
Lucia. Done?
Yes.
Lucia, Bitok.
Muchendo.
Before Muchendo says anything, you know, Lucia,
I gave you your time, bro. Time is out.
Muchendo,
funga ni ya mwisho.
No, wacha Muchendo aende nita.
No, baba funga maliza basi. Ghost tackle zinakwanga kufunga. Tackle of the day inakuwa kufunga. Sawa wewe tuambie. Wewe niambie.
I've even forgotten. But Lucia, anyway, what I can tell you is this, huh? BBI or no BBI, take it as a wholesome document. The way it is. If you do think it's a little bit of an improvement, that is good enough. If it's not, let's forget about it.
Okay.
Muchendo. The one and only man who killed a dead lion.
Well, I refuse to respond to that accusation, Bitok. I only kill lions that are not dead. Nonetheless, I want to believe that this particular document in the name of BBI, it is a wish list that does not show a pathway to its implementation in this sense. The 15% already guaranteed to the county government is a problem for this national government to deliver it to county. As I'm talking to you...
Actually, it is a minimum.
Yes, it's a minimum of 15%. There's nothing stopping government from giving us 35%. Nonetheless, I think it is okay to say that we enshrine the 35% in the constitution. That much I agree with it. But my problem is this. We are talking about 15% that is already guaranteed, that has not been able to go to the county government. As I'm talking to you, over 24 counties have not received their exchequer to pay the October salary. We are heading to past the middle of November. They have not been able to get that money. And I'll tell you why I have a problem with the proposals in this document. This document goes ahead to propose at least 35% to be put to the counties. I applaud the people who came up with this. But what is the pathway to achieving that 35% going to the county? And I'll tell you why I don't think there is a pathway to do this. One, it is 35% of the last audited government accounts. Now, the question begs, how many audited accounts, what is the current audited account we are using today to dispatch money to the county government? Today, Bitok, we are using the 2016-2017 audited government account. Somebody has designed it in the national government to ensure that Parliament does not audit government accounts in time. I tell you, today we're supposed to be using the 2019-2020 government audited account. Were we using that audited account, we would be having counties receive over 400 billion shillings if we were using that audited account. But there is a design that the national government ensures that the audited accounts of government are not dated up to date. That is something this BBI is not addressing. That even as you're talking about 35% coming to the county, have you dealt with the question on timely auditing of government account to ensure that counties get money in accordance with the last audited government account, which is up to date? The other issue why I have a problem with the 35%, this same BBI takes away the power of the Senate to deal with all money bills. This BBI proposes that all money bills are now a precinct of the National Assembly. Therefore, the Senate cannot adjudicate on matters of money bill. That is including pushing for the audited government account to be on time and to be on date. That has been left to the National Assembly, whose most important role is to help the national government govern. So therefore, you tell us you're giving us 35%, but you have not given us a pathway to know that for sure, that if Kiambu is supposed to receive 35%, it receives 35% of a last audited government account that is up to date. And number two, the Senate that is supposed to adjudicate the matters county does not have an oversight role on all money bill. In fact, the only thing that this Senate has been left to do is deal with the county allocation bill. And that is after the money has been allocated by the National Assembly. So therefore, I have a problem with giving us 35% as county government because I love devolution, but you have not given us an explicit pathway to know that for a fact we shall receive this 35%. The other issue, and the last one that I'm going to deal with when it comes to the issue of allocating counties. This BBI is proposing the same thing that is already in the Constitution about the, what do you call him, the Commission on Revenue Allocation deals with the, what do you call it, budget allocation. I'm looking at, what do you call it? Let me check for it.
Very quickly, Mushendu.
Yes,
Already
yes.
30 minutes past.
Yes, they are talking about the budget, controller of budget. Satisfied. The allocation of county monies has been reduced to the satisfaction of the controller of budget. It is the same, it is what is in the Constitution, it is what is in this BBI, that the entire allocation of 47 county government has been reduced to the satisfaction of the controller of budget. Have we put parameters to ensure that the controller of budget does not wake up in bad moods and refuses to okay money to other counties? Yeah. What are the parameters to ensure the satisfaction of the controller of budget is legal and it is going to be within the law? We are leaving the 47 county government at the whim of Gerard Bitok. He wakes in a bad mood. He does not okay county allocations. Tomorrow he wakes in a bad mood. He okays money for counties that have misused it.
Asante sana. Thank you guys for coming in. It's always a pleasure to have you. Wacha nisome comments hapa kidogo tukisonga. David Sirma anasema legislative matters are not referendum. Deal with them now. Ndiri Mike anasema listening to Billy telling us the Prime Minister who is an appointee of the President will have powers. Least me struggling to understand. Fake. Pauline Cherop anasema you think if you appoint a PM he will force the president to act bullshit maneno. Caitlin anasema Billy Mijungu fake. Pauline Cherop anasema 70 additional MPs is viable, unnecessary to Kwera. I don't know. Walikuwa namaanisha nini tu Kwera. And then Mike anasema leave Ruto out of your minimal ways of convincing us please. Billy is just one Kenyan. Tuko uku and we know how to read. David Kamasema Billy bear with Team Tackle even if it's becoming motto. Kibi Charles anasema the office of the PM and deputies comes with a budget. Tell Billy that. I'm shocked Mijungu is that brainwashed. Yenyewe kusoma sio shida ni kuelewa. Angie Eloy anasema Dianox anasema Mijungu is saying those added positions will be paid their initial salary. My question is which office is run by a salary? When Julius Favor anasema jamaa amejam. Wali Cherop anasema Meshak nobody say the document was bad but it needs consensus. Mtiri Mike anasema hakuna makasiriko Billy. And just Favor anasema Bitok we don't need people catching feelings especially young people. Let's have a sober conversation my feeling to watch home. David Silva anasema sweeteners don't need referendum. Let them be implemented now. Alfred Mutua anasema Billy wacha machungu bwana. Mwangi Kimon Gasman anasema Mijungu acha hasira. Just wanasema Mushendu asked his Mijungu to show us from the document but he declined. Why is he shouting at us? Pili Jero anasema mnaogopa Ruto mpaka mnamuota kweli yeye ni ndume. Yukaji anasema Mijungu anakasirikia nani? Rona yanasema Mijungu wacha machungu. According to that advisors Kili Kiboy kwani mnafinyilia Mijungu sana. Kili Kiboy anasema Gerald this guy Mijungu looks like a scam by the look. Wanaina Samuel wajinga Kenya wameisha. Nani where will this money you are yapping will come from? Hata hii 15% hakuna. Devolve functions not money. Jim toka anasema huyu jamaa acha makasiriko. Julius anasema come on Bito give us the next person bana. There is nothing new Mijungu is telling us. Kili Kiwa sababu doesn't know how to communicate with public feeling. Hii ni attack sote ya Mijungu. Abbas anasema I want this BBI to pass and squeeze us to the wall economically for the next 10 years so as Kenyans would learn to be genuine enough when making and amending the constitution next time. Underline the word genuine. There are people forwarding emotions and politicians' interest in this matter. Pauline Sema Billy, the god, Banduking. Oh, Kivi Jazz Billy has closed shop and gone with the sweets. As I want to sweet and tena. Jerisa Konga Sema Billy, I agree with you. If you think that the current system serves you well, then it's very simple. Just vote no. Edwin Bonyo anasema listening from Bondo, enlightening indeed. David Silva anasema if you are wasting 14 billion, then write off help loans 4 years holiday in Bura. KPS anasema Billy a good debater debating a poorly written document. So Billy is a good guy but the document is bad. Kipkech Willy anasema I think a lesson that Mijungu has learned today is kwa ground vitu ni different. Anasema so a chair was appointed by Ruta only. Jerudesi anasema we are making a lot of noise for no reason. If the president wants this BBI, trust me it will come to an end. Raila has got no power to push the BBI. We know he tried the core Kenya and it was thrown out because it was a bad document. But because the president didn't like it. The Punguza Mzigo document didn't even make it past the county assemblies simply because the president didn't like it. The good thing is that finally it's the wananchi that has the final say. Araba Gwe sema mjambo team. Jambo sana Araba Gwe. Tumekosa sana kawa ya Java. Cheza kama hiyo kesho. Rona Ian anasema thanks a lot guys. Today's tackle was late. Bruce Lee Isadi anasema Billy is a coward. Anyway guys, thank you so much for joining us. The tackle, this is the tackle and the tackle ends now. I'll see you guys again tomorrow. Thank you so much. Kesho tuongelea mambo zingine. Tukijua ni aje Billy. Asanteni kwa kuja. Nusu kwa na wasiwasi. Hao matackles wana tackle hivyo. This is a tackle. People are tackled every day. Yeah, zingine wasiwasi. These are very good people. You have been baptized by fire. I mean,
Happy International Men's Day. No, Happy International Men's Day.
It's a Men's Day. But these guys have combined our day with toilet.
But considering I'm in a studio full of men, Happy International Day to you guys. You make my mornings brighter.
Usiongee moshi kama vile umekuja kuongea.
Nawapenda sana bana, mnachangamshanga asubuhi zangu bana.
Nakupenda zaidi. Na mwache kusema sisi ni scam. Sisi ni watu wa maana sana. Ni vile hao nyinyi ndio mnatuonanga vibaya. Lakini Yesu ni Bwana. To all the men, Happy International Men's Day. Na unajua mmekutanishwa na choo. Lakini choo pia ni kitu ya maana. Bila choo maisha ni ngumu. Asante sana. This is the tackle and the tackle ends now. See you again tomorrow. Bye bye.